With that, I'm going to welcome everyone to the November 15th meeting of the Wakefield Board of Appeals. Reminder to everyone that this meeting is being recorded. It will be available on the town's website within the next couple of days. I'm going to start by taking attendance. Dave Hatfield.
Here.
Joe Pride.
Here.
Jim McBain.
Here.
Greg McIntosh.
Here.
Kasumi Humphreys.
Yeah.
Mickey Feely.
Here.
My name's Tom Lucy. I'm obviously here, and we're going to be joined in a second by our colleague, Chip Tarbell. With that, Joe, as clerk, I'm hoping that you can read our legal notice.
Sure thing. Consistent with the governor's orders extended certain provisions of the open meeting law, every effort will be made to allow the public to view and or listen to the meeting in real time. If you do not have a camera or microphone on your computer, you may use the following dial-in number: 1-301-715-8592, meeting ID 816-7746-6501, passcode 574023. Please only use dial-in or computer, not both, as audio feedback will distort the meeting. This meeting will be audio and video recorded. In compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, this location is accessible to people with disabilities. Wakefield provides reasonable accommodations and or language assistance free of charge upon request. If you are a person with a disability and require information or materials in an alternate format, or if you require any other accommodation, please contact the town's disability coordinator, William Renault, town engineer, at 781-246-6308. As far in the event as possible, every effort will be made to grant your requests. Advance notification will now enable the town to make reasonable arrangements to remove an accessibility barrier for you. 24-15, 24-16, Dennis M. Foote and Danielle E. Foote. Application for determination and or finding with respects to a continuation and extension of a non-conforming uses under Article 9, Section 190-50A of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to, in addition to, be constructed onto an existing building. Application for a variance under Article 10, Section 190-66, seeking a variance from the requirements of Article 6 and Table 2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to an addition to be constructed onto the existing dwelling. This property is shown as map 19, lot parcel W27A of the assessors map, and is located at 45 Stack Ave, 24-17. James Hutton, Joan Hutton, and Patricia L. Reed application for a variance under Article 10, Section 190-66, seeking a variance from the requirements of Article 6 and Table 2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to a proposed addition onto a two-family dwelling, which is under condominium form of ownership. This property is shown as map 17, lot parcel 0242 of the assessors map, and is located at 29 Park Street. 24-18, Three Ducklings Learning Center, Inc. Application for a special permit under Article 4, Section 190-23 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to allow a daycare center in the existing building. The property is shown as map 31, lot parcel 74GC plus of the assessors map, and is located at 20 Del Carmine Street. 24-19, Margaret C. Wilson, trustee of the Wilson Family Trust, application for a determination and or finding with respects to continuation and extension of non-conforming uses under Article 9, Section 190-50A of the Wakefield zoning bylaws to allow additions onto existing dwelling. The property is shown as map 16, lot parcel 86B of the assessors map, and is located at 47 Salem Street. 24-20, 32 Nahant Street LLC, application for a comprehensive permit pursuant to MGL Chapter 40B of the to authorize construction of 32 rental units. The properties are shown as 32-32A Nahant Street, parcel ID 19-162-01A. 36 Nahat Street, parcel ID 19-163-003 of the Assessors Map Board of Appeals.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Just gonna see, and I'll make a note for the record that member Chip Tarbell has joined us now. We did get one request for a continuance, as is our practice. I'll take that forward so folks that are here for that case won't have to hang around. Letter dated November 15th, 2023 from attorney Brian McGrail regarding A&E Realty Trust 460 to 466 and 472 Main Street, Wakefield, case numbers 2370, 2371, and 2372. Dear Mr. Chair, please continue this matter until your meeting on December 13th, 2023, and that we are working on draft conditions and an operation and maintenance plan as requested by the board.
Mr. Chair, I move that we continue this matter to our December 13, 2023 hearing.
Seconded.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I vote aye. That hearing is continued until December. At this point, I'm going to use the chair's prerogative to move one of the cases up out of order. That case is 2420, 32 Nahant Street LLC, application for a comprehensive permit pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, to authorize construction of 32 rental units. The properties are shown as 32A Nahant Street, parcel ID 1916201A, and 36 Nahant Street, parcel ID 19163-003 of the assessor's map. With that, I'm going to officially open the public hearing for that case. And I'll also add that the board has opened this hearing within 30 days after receipt of the applicant's application under Massachusetts General Law 40B in order to comply with the schedule imposed by 760 CMR 56.05. However, I do not wish to waste the time and money of the applicant by conducting a hearing that will likely prove to be moot. As we all know, the town of Wakefield has made tremendous progress, even more impressive recent progress, in growing its subsidized housing inventory. We may not yet be at the 10% threshold, but I believe that we have developed so much qualifying housing in recent times that the town now fits into one or more of the so-called safe harbors created by the 40B regulations for communities that have achieved various statutory minima or that have made recent progress toward doing so. Under 760 CMR 56.038, if the board believes that it has satisfied the requirements of such a safe harbor, and that as a result it would be entitled to deny a pending permit application, the board must give written notice to the applicant with a copy to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities within 15 days after opening the hearing on such an application. The notice must state the basis for the safe harbor and enclose any necessary documentation. The applicant may challenge the board's contention within 15 days after receiving the board's notice. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities will then make a decision within 30 days of receipt of both parties' materials. This procedure tolls the requirement of terminating the 40B hearing within 180 days. Therefore, let me suggest that we continue this hearing until a definite time and place to permit the board to write to the state to assert its safe harbor status, to allow the applicant to file any rebuttal, and to receive a decision. Is there a motion to continue this hearing until 7 p.m. on Wednesday, January 10th, 2024? Such continued hearing to be held either remotely or on a hybrid basis involving remote participation and a physical location to be announced later.
Mr. Chair, that motion is so moved,
Seconded.
as stated. Yep.
Okay, motion has been made and second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, this will be regular voting members, a roll call vote. All in favor of continuing the hearing until Wednesday, January 10th, 2024 at 7 p.m. Such continued hearing be held either remotely or on a hybrid basis involving remote participation and physical location to be announced later. Signify by saying aye. All opposed, nay. Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
and I vote aye. This hearing stands continued until January 10th of 2024. Okay, we're going to go back now to the regular order on the agenda. And the first up is continued hearings. First one up is 2343, 2344, 2345, 2346, 2347, 2348, 2349, 2350 Granite Family Trust LLC, 314, 330, and 336 Salem Street.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail on behalf of the applicant. With me tonight are our team as usual, the principals, Bill Mandel and Jim Cook, and Andy Zawitsky, who is our architect, John Ogren, who's our site civil engineer, and James Emanuel, I believe, is also on, who is our landscape architect. We continue to advance the project forward after lowering the height of the building as requested by the board. And on Friday, we submitted an updated site plan to that effect, which made a number of adjustments for our utility and drainage with the lowering of the building in a revised drainage study that's currently being reviewed by the town engineering department. And our goal will hopefully for them to sign off on that by the next meeting. We're still waiting for a TAC memo. Bill Renaud had thought we had gotten it. I don't have it, so he was going to send it to me today, but I didn't get it. So, but in any event, that's in my list. That's still an outstanding issue or matter that needs to be submitted to the board. At the last meeting, we were given some homework assignments to work. The first to work with Jim McBain on some of the architectural details of the building. In the foundation, because if you may recall, there is going to be more reveal on the foundation, and it's going to either have like a stone or a brick. So we had an opportunity to meet with Jim and discuss that in some detail and talk about some materials, talk about the desire to wrap that foundation material facade around the building. We had an opportunity to talk about what the makeup of the retaining wall would be. What that would consist of, if it would be a stone masonry wall or a concrete wall with facade on it. So we're going to talk about that tonight. And so we met with Jim on that, and then we also had an opportunity to meet with Chip Tarbell, board member Tarbell, and Jim Emanuel, our landscape architect, because of the lowering of the building and the reveal of the foundation, it in essence requires us to kind of go back on the landscaping plan and to redo it in some aspects. And we also talked to Chip about, in Jim, separately about the staircase that comes up from Salem Street and how to kind of orient that into the project. So we're going to, if we may, Mr. Chair, present information on those items tonight. And I'm sure that Mr. McBain and Mr. Tarbell will have some insight and input as we go along. If it's okay with you, I'd like to hand it over to Andy Zawitsky, who is going to talk about some of the architectural components of the building, materials, where they are in the building. And he's put together kind of a material sheet, which he can hopefully share with you. If he can't, I can for him. So I would like to start with that. If I may.
Yeah, please do.
So Andy, are you here?
Can you hear me now? I'm unmuted.
We
Okay.
can. Yeah. Do you want me
Sorry
to bring it
about
up,
that.
Andy? Do you want me to bring it up, or do you have it?
You want me to do the booklet first with the materials?
Yeah, I think that would be good.
Yeah.
Would you like me to bring it up, or do you want to do it?
I can bring it up. I gotta
Okay.
just
Yep. It's easier
share
for
my
you.
screen. Oh, changed. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get it big. All right.
It's gonna take you out of it.
I apologize. I just had it on my screen. Now I don't.
Brian, you think you can pull it up? We got a full agenda.
Yep.
I want to keep moving here.
Yeah, I'm
No problem.
sorry. I'm fumbling here.
No problem, I'm ready. Okay. Got it?
That looks good.
Okay. All right, so you want me to go, I'll go to the next sheet, Andy?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, the booklet here is intended to show a little more detail the finished materials that we're choosing. We are using an Anderson window. It's a single hung window. The windows are black in color. The trim is white, but the window sash and the frame is black. Similar to the top picture shows the Anderson catalog. The bottom one shows the rendering of our building with that type of window. Go ahead. And the sliding glass doors, I do like to use a white door. It's in a recessed balcony. It's a little bit different from the way the windows are trimmed out. So we are proposing to use a white color on the patio doors, the sliding doors. The siding is a couple different versions of the fiber cement siding, hardy type. It's 1/2 inch thick, 8 inch to the weather on part of the building. This is a color called light mist. Next slide. In another part of the building, we're using a 4 inch to the weather to give a little different texture. This color is a little bit brighter. It's called cobblestone. Again, I like to emphasize, we like to use a smooth side of the hardy board. The boards come with 2 different sides. The texture, I find a little bit too much texture. We find the smooth side to look a lot more historic. Okay, go ahead. This is, again, the 4-inch to weather, but we're using a blue color here. It's called Booth Bay Blue, very elegant color. I want to just emphasize our original rendering showed these 2 units flipped. It showed the brick in the unit with the porches, and it showed the clapboard siding in the other unit. I've actually flipped them, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later. The brick in the building is a little more prominent without the porches, and then it extends on to the stairway. We want to face that with the same brick. And so we really are tying that together. You will see in the original rendering that those 2 units were flipped. The brick was here and the blue was there. Go ahead. All right, the brick, I like to use a fairly historic look. It's different shades of red. Belden brick. This is a thin brick product similar to the type of product we used on our other building up the street on Salem Street. That was a gray. This is a red. It is a velour finish, which is a fairly smooth, normal size. The mortar is a light gray, so it gives a nice contrast with the brick. Again, the brick would be used on the building and on the stairs. Our trim corner boards, we like to use the AZEK. It does hold up for a long time. It doesn't rot. It stays very solid over the life of the building. We do tend to use the 5/4 thick, the full thick. It does come in a 3/4 and a 5/4. It's called 1 inch. I'm sorry, it's called 5/4, but it's literally 1 inch in the finished product. But that will give us a lighter color on our trim. Go ahead. The deck rails, we're looking at a powder coated aluminum rail. We're actually using on the back of the building, the black rails with the white doors. On the street side, we're actually going the opposite way with the white railings, where we have used the black windows. So we're getting a little different effect on the back of the building. Again, powder coated for durability and a long life. Go ahead. There is a little bit of soffit. You can see in the rendering, it points to it by the main entrance door on the back of the building. We like to use an aluminum panel here again for durability, and we don't want things to be rotting and failing. We found the color gauntlet gray or slate gray. They're similar, depending on what one we can get at the time. And then I just also put a note on here, the downspouts and the gutters will be white aluminum, as pretty much shown in the rendering. Entry door, we've used this Conair door. It's a very commercial door. It holds up again over the life of the building. We want the building to be durable, and we want the colors to not fade or chip. So we like to use a real commercial grade door that's gonna not fail to just normal usage. One of the things we have done in our other building, I think very successfully, the bathroom vents, instead of running them up through the roof, we can run some of them into the deck and down through the deck. It gives us a shorter run. It gives us a more reliable system, but it keeps the facade of the building very neat. You don't have a lot of breaks with different types of vents. We either run them up through the roof or we conceal them in various ways. The upper floors would go through the roof where it's a shorter run, but the lower floor where we can, we'll conceal it in the deck. It's a white finish, which will work with our deck colors on the front of the building. And the dryer vents, again, these I don't like to run long runs. Dryer vents can be a real problem with the lint and the potential for fire and clogging. The upper floors, it's a short enough run, we can run them through the roof. On the lower floors, we do a color matched, very simple looking vent. We do put it in the wall, so it is somewhat visible, but it's color matched to match the siding, and it's not very prominent. But again, a long run on a dryer vent can be actually a dangerous situation where you can have fire and things. So we try to keep those runs as short as possible. Next slide. The deck lights, the upper decks, we use an up and down light. It does shine the light down onto the deck, so you get very little spread to the surrounding neighborhood. It really keeps the light pretty precisely aimed at the deck. On the lower ones where we have a ceiling, we do go to a ceiling mounted fixture. Again, conceals the fixture, shines the light down, really trying to keep the light so the building is bright and inviting, but we don't want to have a lot of spill light into the neighborhood. So this has been a good way that we've found. And I think, okay, the retaining wall that we are building, the neighbor property up to the west of our site has a stone retaining wall. And what we are proposing to do is a natural field stone wall that will, as much as possible, be similar in character to the existing walls. Now, this will be a new wall and those are old walls, so they're not gonna match perfectly, but I think we can really use the natural stone to get that character. The wall is just over 3 feet tall, maximum 42 inches. It is along the sidewalk, but there is a little bit of a grass strip between the wall and the sidewalk. The pavement doesn't directly abut the wall. Again, it's just above waist height. It's not a real tall wall.
Yeah, and I want to just point out here that real quickly, this landscaping you're seeing in the rendering is not accurate because that's going to change.
We do have a new landscape plan. This is the original.
That's in progress, so this is kind of old, but just to point that
Yeah.
out.
Okay. Go ahead. On the foundation facing, we're going to use a cultured stone. It's made out of concrete. It's not stone. It's it's thin. It's less than 1.5 inches thick. Here's a good picture of it. Personally, I have found this stone to be very beautiful. I think it's going to work pretty well. It's not a perfect match with the natural stone, but it's darn close. And this will give us a really nice facing that we can use on the foundation. There's a couple of places where we're proposing the stone. You can see it in the rendering. On the house that has the brick face, we are going to run the brick down all the way over the foundation. Again, we're using that thin brick veneer, so it'll be a perfect match. Okay. So those really are some
Andy, can
of
you
the
talk about-
materials. Yeah.
Andy, can you just talk about quickly, because this was an issue that Jim McBain had, it's not reflected, that about wrapping the stone foundation around the sides?
Yeah, we are gonna wrap it. You want me to bring up my other drawing that shows that?
Yeah,
I believe I sent that to you, or,
I'll bring it up right now. I've got it.
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, actually, I need to bring it up, because I just put that stone on there today.
Okay, you can do it.
Hopefully I can do better than I fumbled the last time here. All right, I have it on my screen. I will share. There we go. Oh, it covers up the controls. Okay. I will point out this stairway from the street has been redesigned. When the building, when Mr. Ogren was able to set the building a little bit deeper into the ground, it has fewer stairs. At the request of the ZBA, we have given this what they call a piano style. So it really is a welcoming stair, goes out to the sidewalk. And I think the landscape design is very smart here. We can actually bring the lawnmower in, since there's quite a bit of grass up here. This is a flat area. It's not sloped like originally planned. And you can bring the lawnmower across the walk and go over to here. And there's little things like that that really make the building so that you can maintain it. You don't, you try to make it easy to maintain, but you want it to look really nice. But I thought his idea of just having a break where we could bring that lawnmower through, that means a lot. That means the building will be always nice and always maintained. Okay, this shows the stone, the brick, the vertical lattice that's on the deck bases. So we do have not just one line of concrete at all. It's broken up nicely by the entry, the porches. It really gives you a good variety of things. And then we are going to wrap the stone around to the point where the open grill work starts for the garage ventilation. But the stone will wrap around the corners. The same on the other side where the cars drive into the garage, we will wrap that stone around that corner as well. I think that'll really give the building a nice presence to the street as the people drive by. I think that's really all I wanted to show on this. How do I stop the screen share? The share screen,
No,
are
you're
we
on.
done? Okay.
Yep.
So-
Okay, so I'm gonna hand it, if I can, I'm gonna hand it over to, well, actually, let me stop for a minute. I should,
Yeah, I
I
think a couple,
apologize, Mr. Chair. You take it.
yeah, I think a couple board members have questions. Chip, your hand was up first.
Yep, so I have a couple comments. One is, I like what we're doing, but I think there's some things still missed in the booklet. I didn't see anything regarding the columns on the front stairwell. I didn't see anything regarding the garage venting. Is there going to be a garage door or not? If there is, I didn't see anything on that garage door. So there's still a number of things that are missing, and I think it's just important to note that when something is called out, it can't be, oh, we're gonna find which one we like better when the pricing is sought. What we agree upon here and what we vote on is what you can always come back for a minor modification, but everything needs to be listed to the detail. I didn't hear anything about stair treads. I didn't hear anything about walkway pavers or concrete or what they're doing there. So there's still a little bit of materials that I think are missing. Top of, and then just everything really needs to be specified by manufacturer, style, all of that in this booklet. And the front door, Andrew, I know that you're talking about a commercial front door, but the one you showed, I hope isn't for the front of the building.
No,
because
on the
that
back.
would-
It's on the back.
Fine. So I didn't see anything about the front door, side lights, anything like that. Like, how's that door gonna be grand? That was missing. That's it. Few things.
Kasumi?
I wanted to add that too, if you're introducing like more, I would say like residential type of wall sconces for like the front entrance and then also the back entrance, because you only had a patio light fixtures for the exterior. And then it feels like the canopies on the back entrance seems like kind of out of style compared to the rest of the building. It almost feel like it wants to have a little bit of like roof and not like the flat metal canopy. That was my comments.
Okay. Jim?
The last comment from Kasumi, I agree with her. I don't see any problem with having a flat, but I think some sort of architectural trim that is that whole thing as opposed to just a metal fascia. On the stuff that's presented, fortunately, the rendering is poor in relationship to the colors. And I would want to see swatches of the actual color. In fact, I suggest that the major elements ought to be in a board, basically down to the building department, so we can physically see what it looks like as far as color. It may be white, gray, or something like that, but there's all sorts of tonal difference basically here, particularly the orange or brown color basically that seems to reside in a few areas. I can't tell what it is. And it should relate to a color that's, as Chip said, basically manufacturer's information. So manufacturer's paint X, whatever the name of it is, and a number. The lights that are on the porch, the up-down lights, I would say they just need to be down, not up. I don't think we sort of stand for dark skies, and that doesn't help where we generally go with this.
Yeah, I did say that, Jim. They're down lights.
Okay, so the other one is, it shows an image of the stone wall around the front, but it's got a slate top or something on it. Is that gonna happen? Is it gonna have a slate top? Or is it just gonna be the top end of stone? That I think needs to be clarified. Underside of the decks, what's the material when you look up? Are you just gonna see the framing? Or is there some sort of hung system in there that may be slats or something like that? So you're not just seeing the framing. That's my comments.
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, some of the other comments have already been covered, but the other one that hasn't, I will just add, when we were going through the architectural updates and mentioning of vents going through the roof plan on sheet 5, I believe, didn't really show anything coming through the roof. So we should add what we envision happening on the roof. So the vents, any mechanicals, I don't know if there are any mechanicals or they're all inside each unit, but the roof plan should represent what we envision happening on the roof.
Okay.
I would add that to the list. That's it for now.
Thanks.
And also, we didn't get these plans, right? So we're
No.
gonna get a copy of these.
Correct.
And even the architecturals were dated, have they been updated? What you were just sharing? They've been dated October 18th, but so even those have been updated today?
They were updated, yeah, through our work with, through our preliminary work with Jim and Chip. Yeah,
Okay.
so we'll send those in, and then obviously we got some more homework to do on it.
Right, okay, but I just want to make sure, because we got a bunch of materials, but didn't get
Yeah.
all the colored renderings we just saw. Okay,
No, I'll send those in the morning.
thank you.
Chip, is this a new hand up or is it still up from before? You're muted.
I figured out how to lower the hand, just not to come off mute.
Okay.
So the other thing that was mentioned, the venting coming out the side of the building, and I understand the reasonings for the short runs and stuff like that with dryer vents. I have a problem with any vent showing on the street side. Right, this is supposed to represent 3 older looking homes or 4 or 5 older looking homes, and now we got vents which normally would never be on a street side coming out. That shouldn't look like an apartment building, right? The whole attempt is to make it not look like that. So I have problems with vents on the Salem Street side. Figure out a way to up, down, garage, back, I don't know, but I don't like the idea of vents come, a vent, I don't care what color you make it, coming through a brick facade is gonna look like a vent. That's it, I forgot that one.
Okay. All right, Brian, you have that list?
I get it all. Yep.
Sure.
Thank you.
You want to proceed then?
Yeah, can I hand it over to Mr. Manuel on the landscaping and basically just to set this tone on what you're gonna see in the landscaping, you're really gonna see a sketch of kind of where the landscaping is gonna be. We worked with Chip preliminarily on this, and then Chip gave us a further homework assignment before we came tonight. So Chip hasn't even seen this yet. So before Jim went through all the trouble of like specking specific plants and where they're gonna go, we wanted to make sure that we're heading in the right direction. Then he's gonna revise that accordingly, depending on what you advise us to do tonight. So, Jim?
Okay, thanks, Brian. Good evening. James Emanuel here, landscape architect. I'll share my screen so you can see the sketch plan of the front part of the site. And as you can see here, here's Salem Street, and here's the footprint of the building and the articulations where the decks are and the main entry. And when we met with Chip last week, we were talking about the entrance and the stairs and trying to figure out, the other thing was also the original plan had all plantings in the front, and with a 16 foot depth, and now being flat, we had decided that it might be good to introduce some grass. So what you're seeing here in this overview is a kind of a planting bed line that will kind of curve around, and some scallop planters kind of towards the front end of the wall to give a little bit of foreground and background with the plantings, and then a running grass area so that it kind of makes, I think, a more finished look as we had discussed in our meeting. This is the retaining wall. And then this is the existing grass strip and then the existing sidewalk here. So these kind of squiggly things are planting areas, and yet to be determined what the specifics of those plants are, but we'll put a plant list together. One of the things that we discussed was, can we get grass all the way across? Given that we have to get from elevation 107.5 down to 98.5, and we kind of put our thinking caps on for that, and came up with an idea as a way to get grass all the way over and to be able to maintain it by kind of extending this platform right here so that a lawnmower could come around from this side, come along this edge, cross over this, and then maintain the grass on this side as well too. So we've got an entry with kind of a curved opening at the entrance, a number of rises up to this landing, which I believe we had, it's not yet labeled, and we'll clarify the details of the materials of all of these, but this was, I think, was originally intended to be a concrete pad and concrete steps through here. Then some more steps coming up, and then getting up to the finished elevation here. This is the either concrete, or we had talked about possibly doing granite against the stone wall, granite slab steps against the stone wall at the entrance where it leads out to the sidewalk. And as we come around, this would be the planting beds with various types of plantings. So, we would put probably some small trees in this, shrubs, where we have the siding for the deck. We may do a more dense planting. It's a little bit further out. And then where we have the stone veneer, the planting may be a little bit more thinner, so this, it doesn't entirely cover up the stonework, and you can see that a little bit more. But I think you can kind of see the flow and continuation of the grass all the way across, which I think adds a nice finish touch. The foreground elements of plantings along the frontage, and then the various planting strips along the building foundations with the orientation and the the risers and the landings of the entry. We had looked at doing this to be a brick landing to match this portion of the building, which is brick. And I think we were looking at a black metal, probably aluminum handrail system coming down to work with the brick as well too. So that's the latest on the front part. The other parts of the landscape is essentially the same, but this is the latest on the front. And I guess we can take questions on that. I can leave the screen up and take questions on it if we want to do that.
Okay. Chip?
Yeah, I would just say this captured a lot. I mean, we pushed back and forth on what it should be. And the only thing I kind of disagree with Jim on is, I think the design's fine. I think, plant materials to be determined later is fine. I think this walkway needs to be much grander than a poured concrete slab and concrete steps. This can't be a poured in place. This can't be a prefab stairway that gets dropped in here with just a facade on the side that's brick. I mean, we need to talk about, this is a grand entrance into this thing. It can't be concrete, not the walkway, not the steps, not the risers, whatever it is, it needs to be covered. And in a similar, either, field stone with bluestone steps or something, but it can't be concrete. That's all. Other than this is what we discussed, and I'm real happy we found a way to get the mower from one side to the other for maintenance. And I think green on top of the wall, there is about a foot rise, so you will see the grass. It's not going to be hidden behind the stone wall because there's about a foot from the base elevation of the stone veneer or whatnot on the foundation to the 3/6 stone wall. So there is a little bit of a slope, so I think the green will be really nice there.
Okay. Jim?
Yeah, I guess a lot of concentration on the front of this building, which is well deserves. I'm just wondering what happens to the rest of the site, what's gonna happen, and I suppose that has yet to be discussed. But I want to make sure we don't lose that topic as well.
You talking about the landscaping, Jim?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that was already, we beefed up all the trees back there. That we'll show that again, but I think your board already made comments on that, and Jim Emanuel made adjustments on that.
Well, we have, I mean, this is all gonna be populated. It's just a gross idea at this point, but it's still gonna be populated
Well, these
with
materials, yeah, there has to be-
materials.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. You need an entire landscape plan, but I think what I'm saying is a lot of the stuff in the back of the building isn't changing because that was already changed. But you'll see it when Jim does a complete plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I can pull it, can everyone see this now? Did
Yeah.
that just, okay, so I mean,
Yeah,
this
you
is
can,
the,
if you can blow it up a little bit, there you go. Thank you.
so this is the plan in context where we've got, you know, plantings. This is what we were just talking about, this portion. Right here. But we do have this whole area planted, trees around. This was the kind of rain garden area that we had talked about in coordination with the stormwater management on this part of the site, and then, you know, grass and trees in this area here as well. So what we're really looking to do is get some sense of, you know, feedback on this application, and then fill it out with, you know, a plant list similar to what we've done here. And then we can talk about the specific materials that we'll be using for the entrance as well, too.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. So Brian, do you want to, are you or your client ready to talk about Chip's comment on the front walkway? Because that seems, or do you need time to come back and talk about that?
Well, I think what Chip is saying, we're gonna need to make some adjustments on that. So, you know, I mean, Jim, I mean, you were talking about granite stairs anyways at a certain extent, right, Jimmy?
Yeah,
Well, I think we were looking at doing, you know, the steps that abut the entry wall, I think would be best as like a monolithic granite slab steps. I think those would work well in that location. The walkway slab, you know, that we would bring the mower across. You know, if we don't want to do concrete, we could do a paver of some kind. I don't want, you know, we don't want it to clash with brick. I think if we have the rendering actually, Andrew's rendering, and could zoom in on that, you might get a sense of kind of the way it works.
I'll do that.
Is that possible to bring that up, Brian?
Yep.
And kind of just zoom in on that entrance area?
Yep.
Yeah, and to be clear, I was fine with the way it works. I just wasn't fine with the materials.
Right.
Yep.
Right here.
If you can zoom in on just on that.
There it is.
Well, hold on. Is that okay, Jim?
I think that looks good, yeah. So that's kind of the idea. You know, we don't show any plant material in back of it, but, you know, that gives you a sense of like the you know, the configuration, the way that the cheek walls would work with the steps.
So what you were talking about though, so this is kind of how the rail system will kind of, it has to taper down. You can see how that tapers
Yeah.
down because Andy designed that. As you come out towards Salem Street. Jim, these are the steps that you were talking about granite, right?
Correct.
Okay, and then you talked about poured concrete, and then these would be what you were saying was
We
these.
don't know what those were gonna be. I mean, we had talked in our discussions as granite, but they may want to be brick risers with granite treads. I mean, I think that would look pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just stated they were gonna be concrete, and that's what I
Right.
wanted to put a stop to that thought process.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Chip,
all.
Chip, do you have a problem with this pad being concrete?
Absolutely.
Okay, just so we know.
Think of this as an old Federalist front entrance of a house, right? What 17th, 18th century, 1800s house has a poured concrete front walk? None.
I think your other
You know,
comment, Chip, was the the lower sidewalk stair basically probably wants to be 1.5 times that, half again is wide. More
Oh,
monumental.
that's
Yeah, you
four,
might not
4
have the
feet.
depth. You
Careful
might
on
not.
that. That's 4 feet
width,
wide.
Yeah.
I don't want to have a second railing. I mean, I want these to be safe. I mean,
Yeah, no,
we're
4
thinking these
feet.
wonderful thoughts about old stone and stuff, but these need to be safe for people to not be injured on them.
Well, you can go more than 4 feet and not have a center railing.
You can. First of all, those are considered landscape stairs, not entrance stairs. But anyway, you guys need to figure it out. I agree with Jim. They need to I mean, I talked about a grand entrance, and you're close. You're not far, but it could be a little grander. You don't want. You've got a mile of stone wall here, and you got this little entry. It needs to have some beef to it. You're right there. It just needs a little thought
think
process.
You think we want to widen this a little bit?
I think so.
Yes.
I think they look lost in that stone wall.
Okay.
Okay, Kasumi?
But again, we're not here to design. We're just telling you what we think of the design. So you guys have to come up with what makes sense.
Mhm.
I mean, what you've done is great. I pushed for somehow getting grass on that right-hand side, and you figured out a way to do it. I mean, the other thing that happened is, I think you guys talked about white. I don't think this rendition is actually what your product booklet said, because if you look to the porch to the left, that looks like black rails to me. And I think you presented it as white rails in the booklet.
Those
So again,
those are white. I apologize if the rendering lines are heavy and everything, but those are white rails. They are drawn white
okay.
and they're intended to be white.
Maybe it's shadow then in the rendering, probably. But the rails coming down, Jim Press represented as black, and I think
those are
they
black,
probably
yeah.
should be.
Yeah, these are
because
black,
that's
Chip. Yeah,
a
these are black.
traditional entranceway would be a black rail. I mean, I think you guys are really close. You just got to think about materials a little bit.
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to see that as a plot down prefab set of stairs with a bit of sod on it.
Okay, we got it.
Yep. Kasumi?
Oh, I'm sorry. You bring it back up for Kasumi.
No, Brian, can you bring up the plan that shows the landscape, the whole landscape plan?
Yeah, Jim can do that if he could. Jim, could you bring that back up, the entire landscape plan for Kasumi?
Sure.
Thank you.
So on the back entrance, I assume all the deliveries are coming to the back entrance. Is that correct? Can those trucks, like FedEx trucks and stuff, can turn around and go back out if all the 9 spaces, the parking spaces are full? Or they have to back up all the way out to the common pathway to be out of the property?
Yeah, it's designed so that they can pull into the parking area and then back up into the driveway that goes out to the single families and then head back out to Salem Street. So they don't have to back out all the way out to Salem Street.
Okay. And then this one is on the inside part, but I don't see a lot of space in the lobby area. I see the mail and then both entries from inside of the parking garage to the outside, and I don't know where all like the big packages are going to.
There is a bigger lobby upstairs. This is just the entrance of the garage.
So
There is a lobby upstairs.
So if somebody's like the FedEx guys like carrying your like a new bed frame, you have to go through 2 doors to the elevators, go up 1 more floor to drop off the packages.
There is plenty of space on that second floor. Yeah, if somebody had a very large package, I would hope they would do that, yeah.
Okay. That's all my question.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, hearing none. Brian, was that it for this evening?
That's it.
Okay, we have a pretty comprehensive list there.
Yeah, we do. This was very productive for us. Thank you. Appreciate the feedback. So we'll work on that, and then we've got the other items I mentioned with DPW.
Okay,
And
Mr. Chair, sorry, through
Yep.
you, we also got some other material, we not, like O&M, and we're not going there tonight? Brian, was it just,
that was just O&M for the drainage.
okay, because I had comments on that, like, all right, it seems like it's missing a whole bunch of other things.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's not the O&M plan for the
oh,
project.
okay, oh, okay,
Yeah.
good enough. So we'll get the rest of the detail and then we can cover that topic. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. Yep.
right. Okay,
They also
you
want to
got-
point out, Mr. Chair, if I can just point out that currently you're extended till December 31 on this project.
okay. We might need a little more time.
That's what I figured.
Are you gonna be ready to come back in December?
Yeah, we have a month. So because you don't meet again until the 5th, I think it's the 13th, so we've got plenty of time. So
Okay,
we hopefully we can have a lot of this stuff done. We want to keep moving, and hopefully I talked to the town engineer today. He said hopefully he can close this out on his end by that meeting also.
okay. You should start to think about O&M and other things too, to keep this moving.
Draft conditions.
Yep.
Potentially, yeah. So what, Brian, what,
Particularly where we're a month away.
Right,
so the
I
extension.
mean, I don't see any big obstacles here, in my opinion. I don't know whether Jim can get his landscape plan put together in that time, but
Yeah, we can do that.
yep, to Dave's point, beyond O&M, start thinking about conditions and other things too, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Let's try to finish this one off soon. So
Do we-
what do you think in terms of extension would you need, Brian?
I would say probably just till the end of January. Because I mean, hopefully it doesn't go there, but just so, you have to have beyond December in case something happens, you don't meet. We don't want to be in
Right.
that, moment, so.
Right.
So I would just say till January 31 would be my suggestion at this point, but it's up to you, Mr. Chair.
No, that's fine. Anyone have any objections to that?
Seems reasonable. It was either that or maybe into February, but yeah, hopefully we're done by then, but just to.
And you have to, assuming, hopefully from our end, this goes to a positive conclusion, then we'd need time to get a decision done. So
Yeah, there's a lot of them too.
there's a lot of them. Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably no matter what, it's gonna have to get extended again in time, for the board to get decisions written on this.
Yeah.
So if you just want to go to, just to the end of February at this point, I think everyone's pushing to close it as soon as possible. That way we just have that locked in.
All right.
That would be my suggestion, end of February.
Yeah, so I think a motion's in order then to extend to February 28th or accept the applicant's willingness to extend to the 28th and continue this to our December meeting.
Okay, Mr. Chair, with that, I will make a motion to extend the time for the board to render a decision on this matter to February 29th. I think is the last day. We got a leap year next year, 2024.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Regular voting members, Dave,
Aye.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Chip,
I have to come off mute more often. Are we doing this prior to public comment?
Ooh, sorry. You got me there.
Well, we can vote to extend.
We
but
can
not
vote to
continue it.
extend. We won't continue it until I turn to public comment. Thanks, Chip.
Okay, no problem. Sorry, I was on mute a little bit long.
So,
So I guess
only-
the motion, I would have offered to amend the motion just to control the date to extend.
that's all,
Not
Oh,
to
the-
That's
before us.
that's all the motion was, I believe, right?
That's all the motion was before us, Chip.
Okay, all
So
right.
you can just vote
So
yes.
I'm a yes.
Go
And I
back on
vote-
mute.
Yeah. So I vote yes. At this point, my apologies, but are there any members of the public here that want to comment on this case? If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none. Now a motion to continue is in order.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. We continue this hearing to our December 13th, 2023 meeting.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Chip,
Yes,
I vote yes. We'll see you in December on this, Brian.
Thank you.
Next up, 361 Salem Street LLC at 361 Salem Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail, on behalf of the applicant, on this project, 361 Salem Street, Wakefield LLC. I think I can be kind of concise on this. This is just a two-family dwelling at 361 Salem Street. We have a application because it's in the business district of a special permit for relief from some of the parking requirements, which are really, I would say, technicalities. If it was in the general residence district, you wouldn't even be dealing with it. Also for site plan approval, because it's in the business district and it's a new proposal. So the last time we were here, there was some details that needed to be worked out on the architectural aspects of the project. Jim McBain had some questions on that, and he was designated to work with us on that issue. We had an opportunity to meet with Jim. We revised our architectural plans, and I think he is satisfied at this point, but he can certainly speak for himself, and I'll present those plans, and we can kind of talk about what was clarified. I'm sure Jim will have some input on that. We also had comments at that time from the Department of Public Works regarding our drainage, regarding our water connection, that because Salem Street was being paved in that area, they had issues on how we were going to deal with that. So what we actually did, my client rushed and did all of the utility connections into Salem Street in advance, taking a leap of faith in doing so in order to preserve Salem Street that's being repaved in that area that won't have to be dug up now for his utility connection. So when we got that memo from the town engineer, they did that work in 3 days, and now the street has been paved and all our utility work has been brought into the site in anticipation of a two-family dwelling. So that street won't be ripped up 6 months after it was just repaved. So the town engineering department was very happy with that. So John Ogren presented a memo to them, which we submitted to you on Friday. And I spoke with the town engineer today. They have signed off on all aspects of the project now. And they issued you a memo to that effect today, that they are happy with everything at this point. So if the board's satisfied with what we're going to show you with architectural and we have a revised site plan that we submitted, our goal would be to have this close out tonight if possible. So with that said, Mr. Chair, can I present the architectural plan that we?
Yeah, I'll just say too, I don't think the other board members saw this, or if you didn't have a chance, that memo from DPW did come in late this afternoon. Every comment's addressed, and Brian, that you saw, they're looking for a fee on the infiltration inflow.
Yep.
So that's the only thing of note there. Everything else has been addressed.
Yep. Okay. So there was some question on the detail of the front of the building, how it wrapped around with the roofing. Jim wasn't able to tell. And so we've revised, we met with Jim and explained how it worked. And then we've revised our architectural plan to kind of detail that a little bit more. And if through you, Mr. Chair, if I can maybe ask Jim to comment on this, because he he really had issue with this, and he certainly understands it better than I do.
Well, it wasn't so much an issue as understanding what was going on, because it's 2D, that's not 3D, so it was a little difficult to tell. But I'm satisfied, basically, I understand what they were showing and how it works on the building and how the setback between either side basically works with that roof area. So I have no further comment having that.
Okay.
And John, I don't think you really need to present that. Really, nothing's changed on your site plan, right, John? Did anything change on the walkways or anything that you want to show, or was it really just drainage, John, over?
Yeah, yes, they did.
Okay, can you bring it up and just kind of point that out? Because that was another issue that the board had, that you wanted to make sure that the walkways matched.
Yeah, it was more about kind of the consistency between the architectural and our site plan. These are the entranceways, the covers over the entranceway. We're showing the roof extending over the driveway, which is now clearer on the architecturals. The other thing we changed was we had the steps going off the side. Now they match the architectural. The steps come off the front, and we have walkways going out to the driveway itself. So from a building standpoint, they match up with the architectural.
Okay.
All the other changes were really in reference to the engineering, the water lines that were installed, and slight change to the drainage.
And John, that amount of pavement has to be there to get to the two driveways.
Yeah, we wanted to give them ability to, get turned around and facing out to Salem Street, so they're not backing out onto Salem Street.
As well as to park in front of their own garages if they don't want to put them in.
Yeah, these would be parking, these would be parking in front of the garages too.
John, I have a question, just for these two units, is it code to put in that, storm check system, just for 2 units? You know what I'm saying, like for the water runoff, that's code? Just curious, I mean, not many
Yeah, we have,
two family houses around here would have that. I'm just curious if that's what they're making people do now, just for a 2-family building.
yeah, I mean, we looked at, there's an existing house here and there is an existing driveway. We compared the existing conditions to the proposed, and to mitigate for the additional, size footprint of the building and the pavement, we required roof recharge in the front here, and we actually have 2 units that we've placed in the back, and those are all tied into the roof drainage.
Yeah, I see that. It seemed overkill, but that was just curious. So,
Yeah, that's pretty, no, that's pretty standard now.
okay, thanks.
Anybody else? Questions, comments? Anything else to present, Brian?
No,
No.
With that, pleasure of the board.
Public? Any public comment, Mr. Chair?
Oh, yeah, I'm bad tonight. Sorry about that. Is there any member of the public is here to comment on this hearing? If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Hearing and seeing none, back to the board. Now, pleasure of the board.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a special permit and site plan approval in conjunction therewith pursuant to Article 7, Section 190-36C of the bylaw and Article 8, Section 145 of the bylaw, with the business district zoning regulation extending 30 feet as allowed by Section 190-9 of the bylaw to allow reductions in the requirements and/or standards of off-street parking and loading under Article 7 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to a 2-family dwelling to be constructed on the premises, including A, section 190-37D of the bylaw, reducing the required width of the aisle to allow the aisle as shown on the site plan. B, section 190-37E1 of the bylaw, reducing the required setback of off-street parking areas to allow them to be closer than 7.5 feet to the building as shown on the site plan, and eliminating the requirement that open parking areas shall be separated from the street line by a landscape strip not less than 15 feet in width. C, 190-37F, eliminating the requirement for screening. D, section 190-40B, eliminating the requirement for screening pursuant to 190-31G of the bylaw. And E, any other necessary reductions in the requirements or standards for off-street parking and loading on Article 7 of the bylaw related to the project as shown on the site plan and architectural plans. And I should note the final plans were as shown tonight: site plan by Hayes Engineering dated November 9th, 2023, and the architectural elevation drawings entitled 361 Salem Street, Wakefield, dated November 8th, 2023. Mr. Chair, I make this motion based on the findings. The use requested is listed in the table of use regulations as requiring a special permit in the district for which the application is made. The requested use is essential and or desirable to the public convenience or welfare by providing an additional dwelling unit. The requested use will not create or add undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. As determined by the Department of Public Works Engineering Division, the requested use will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system or any other municipal system for such an extent that the requested use or any developed use in the immediate area or in any other area of the town will be unduly subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or the general welfare. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts, nor be detrimental to the public health, convenience, or welfare. The requested use will not, by its addition to the neighborhood, cause an excess of that particular use that could be detrimental to the character of said neighborhood. The board finds that the application of the standards for off-street parking and loading on Article 7 proves to be infeasible, and the reductions are supported by evidence of infeasibility due to the lack of suitable land, zoning district lines, design considerations, or other similar factors. The granting of such special permit will not adversely affect the health, safety, convenience, or character, or the welfare of the neighborhood or the district or of the town. In addition, section 190-45 of the bylaw, the board has also reviewed this section, which in pertinent part it states, in reviewing the site plan, the special permit granting authority and other applicable agencies shall consider, among other things, the following: 1, convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the site and in relation to the adjacent streets, properties, or improvements. 2, adequacy of the methods of disposal for sewage, refuse, and other waste, and the methods for surface or stormwater drainage. 3, provision for off-street loading and unloading of vehicles incidental to the servicing of the buildings and related uses on the lot or track. And the board has considered all of the above referenced criteria and is satisfied with them. And again, this motion is made with the following conditions. The applicant shall comply in all aspects with the conditions of this decision. The board retains jurisdiction to approve any minor amendments to the decision that do not materially alter the terms of the decision. If in the board's judgment a proposed change is material, then a new hearing shall be required to amend the decision. Jurisdiction to decide any disputes or make any necessary clarifications of this decision or conditions therein which cannot be resolved by the zoning enforcement officer shall be retained by the board. Appearance of the project shall be as shown on the final site plan and architectural elevation drawings as stated above. And in the event of any conflict between the decision and the site plan and architectural elevation drawings, the plan shall control. And finally, the conditions of the DPW in their letter dated November 15, 2023 are incorporated herein and shall be complied with. That, Mr. Chair, is my motion.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Chip,
Yes,
and I vote yes. That's unanimous and approved.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good
Thank you.
luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Good luck.
All right, we are on to new hearings. First new hearing, 24-15, 24-16. Dennis M. Foote and Danielle E. Foote at 45 Stark Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail on behalf of Dennis and Danielle Foote, property at 45 Stock Avenue. This is an application for a finding and a variance for, might be the most modest addition I've ever presented to the board. The Foots desire to, in essence, put a mudroom on the front of their house where they have stairs. But they're encroaching into the front setback, which requires a variance. So I think I'll start by, if I may, by sharing the site plan. And explain the need for the variance and kind of the uniqueness of the lot. So this is the lot, and you can see the proposed addition is right here. It's 6 foot by 8 foot, a mudroom on the front of the house. And then the stairs come off of that. So the setback required is 20 feet. They want to go to 14, so they need a variance to do that. The existing stairs already come out into the front setback, but they're excluded under the bylaw. So it's not like they're coming off of the 20 feet. The existing stairs probably come to where they probably go out to where the addition is. And I'll show you a photo of that. We also need a finding because the lot is deficient. So if you look at the zoning table, this is in the single residence district, 12,000 square feet is required. 10.9 is 10.9 is what we have. The frontage is 100 feet and we only have 60. So that also affects lot width, obviously, which isn't even on the table. The front setback, as I've mentioned, is where the variance is needed because that's where we're creating the new nonconformity where it already complies. All the other setbacks on the sides are fine. In the rear, you can see 15 on the right, it's 15.3, and 15 on the left, it's 15.6. Rear is 25 feet. There's a ton of room on the rear. It's 123 foot setback. Stories comply, height complies, open space complies, and lot coverage is in compliance also. So, and also the front yard open space complies. So, we have some unique circumstances here because, the way the existing building is situated on the lot, it's a narrow lot. It's kind of not balanced the way it was originally built years ago. We've got all this room in the back, but nothing up front. So I think the architectural plan that we submitted will kind of nicely show what I talked about on the way the steps are. So this is the existing elevation. You can see it. It's just stairs coming off, and this
Yeah,
is
Brian, we're not seeing anything yet.
Oh, sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the front elevation. You can see the stairs coming off, and we had the architect do a side elevation that kind of really shows how these currently come pretty far out, and they're going to be taken off. And then what's being proposed. In its place is, you can see it down here. It's a mudroom. And then they call it the entry porch, but it's really just the staircase. So that comes out 6 feet, and then the stairs come out an additional 4. And the stairs, as Paul had said, were exempt. That's why we're asking for the variance setback as shown on the site plan of 14 feet. And I thought it might be helpful to, because this really, to me, kind of epitomizes how this fits in the impact on the neighborhood. This shows the house with the stairs coming off. There's huge room between the neighbors. Across the street, there's major setbacks, so there's not going to be any impact to anybody. My clients have spoken with the neighbors, and they're all in support of this. And what's really interesting, if you look at the 2 houses next door, they both have this. So they both have mudrooms. This is actually going to finish off the street in a nice way and have everything match up. happy to answer any questions that the board might have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Jim, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, just to Brian's point, there are, I think, actually there's at least three, I think, that have weather vestibules, and that's what this really is a weather vestibule. So I don't see that it has any real impact short of the fact that this house might be a little closer to the property line than the others, but it doesn't change the character of the neighborhood at all, and I would suggest approving this.
Okay. I also would note that we've got correspondence from the fire department, Chief Sullivan, and from the DPW department as well. Neither one of them had any comments. Any other comments or questions from the board?
No, Mr. Chair, I agree with Jim. Since the other neighbors have it, I think it just continues the look of the neighborhood in a better direction for myself. So.
Yep.
That's
okay.
it.
Anybody else?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Brian, what's the date on the architectural plan?
It is. Blow it up.
I just can't. My eyes are too old.
Yeah, hold on, I gotta really blow it up. It's dated August 14, 2023.
Okay. So, Dave, did you have another comment? I'm just gonna throw it open to the public.
No, that's all I had.
Okay. Are there any members of the public here that wish to comment on this application? If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Hearing and seeing none, back to the board.
Mr. Chair, we have to make two motions. Does the order matter, Brian? I
No.
don't think it does, but okay.
No.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move that we grant a finding and determination pursuant to section 19050A of the bylaw that the proposed changes and alterations at 45 Stark Ave as presented on a site plan by Paul Finocchio dated October 11th, 2023, and by the architectural plans by Luna Designs dated August 14, 2023, shall increase the existing non-conforming nature of the structure, but we find that those changes shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing non-conformities to the neighborhood.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That's unanimous.
So, Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a variance pursuant to 19066, section 19066 of the bylaw. And to vary. Sorry, just getting the section right. The requirements of Article 6 and Table 2 pursuant to the same plans as mentioned above to alter the to add the mudroom as stated, owing to circumstances related to the shape or topography of the land and structures. A little enforcement of the provisions of this chapter would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good or without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of this chapter.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none. Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
and I vote yes. That too is unanimous. Okay.
you.
Yep. Moving on. Next case, 2417, James Hutton, Joan Hutton, and Patricia L. Reed, 29 Park Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail representing the applicants on this. And this is a little bit of a unique application because the applicants, as you mentioned, are Jim and Joan Hutton and also Patricia Reed. This is a two-family that has been condominiumized, so it's in a condominium form of ownership, and that's why both unit owners have applied for this, although what's being proposed only really impacts one of the units at this point, because the addition that's proposed onto this building is for one of the units. With that said, my clients are here. They're all here. Everybody's here. The Huttons are here. Patricia Reed is here. And also I have Andrew Jones from Phoenix Architects, who is the architect on this project. So probably the way to start this, I would think, is to bring up the site plan to kind of explain. So you can see this is at 29 Park Street. It's a 2-unit building and is currently constructed. Both of these units 1 and 2, have decks. And what the Huttons are planning to do, or would like to do, is in essence convert their deck into a 4-season room. They have grandchildren at this point that they take care of, and they'd like to expand this to give them some more area. Ms. Reed, who is on the Zoom also, the other unit owner, as part of the application, is in support of this. I do want to say that it's anticipated that if this is approved at a later date, either Ms. Reed or the future owner of Unit 1 would come back and probably look to do the same thing. When Andrew presents you the architectural plans, he's made a slight modification, and he's taken the windows out on this side to give privacy to the existing deck, and he's also specified this as a firewall in anticipation that, at a future date, if the board were, in your discretion, to give relief for this possible addition, that it would be ready to go and ready to build and connect them. There wouldn't be any firewall issues. So really what's happening here is the deck is currently here as it is on Unit 1. It's interesting that you're allowed to have a deck that can encroach into the setback. And that's why these decks were built, and they don't comply, because this lot 100% complies with all zoning requirements, except because when we're closing in this addition, it creates a rear setback. The requirement is 29, and this is going to be 16.6. As you can see, when Paul Finocchio calculated the 29, he does it to the house because he doesn't have to include the deck. So really, from a perspective of privacy for neighbors out back, etc., this is actually going to be, it's kind of interesting that the bylaw reads that way, because to me, decks would almost be more intrusive on neighbors than rooms, especially single-story rooms, because this is a 1-story room, as Andrew will show you on the architectural plans. But you would tend to have more noise off of decks than additions. But in any event, it's not going to have any impact. I think this is somewhat of a unique circumstance, especially relating to the other deck. We do have neighborhood support, broad neighborhood support on this, which I will share with you after Andrew presents architecturally what's taking place here. Virtually everybody surrounding the property has issued a correspondence in support of this project. I think at this point, I'd like to hand it over to Andrew to show the architectural aspects of this. Andrew, could you do that, please?
Absolutely.
And before you
Thanks,
do that,
Brian.
hold on
Andrew
1 second.
Jones.
Andrew, 1 second. I apologize. I wanted to point out, because the deck doesn't count for lot coverage, this also ticks us over up above the lot coverage a little bit by just 1.7%. So there's 2 variances that are being requested here, the rear setback and the lot coverage. I'm sorry, Andrew, go right ahead.
No problem. Thanks, Brian. So Andrew Jones from Phoenix Architects, representing our client, Jim Hutton. Give me 1 moment here. I will pull up the screen with architecturals. Okay, so I'll first start from a Google Street View. So this is Jim Hutton's unit right here, and this is his neighbor Patricia Reed's unit right here. I'm actually gonna jump to existing plans first. So as you can see here, this is showing the left elevation where the deck originally sits. This is the rear elevation of Jim's side showing the deck. And this is the existing deck footprint, 13.5 feet by 12.5 feet. What we're proposing is a 13 by 14 addition off the back, so very similar in size. It's actually shifted a little bit to the left-hand side just to allow these existing windows in the living room to stay there. It's a really nice fireplace with high windows, and we're trying to keep the symmetry within that room. So the four-season that we're proposing is shifting slightly to the left. As Brian has stated, what was submitted and what we're showing right here has slightly been changed just because there's two high windows along this left-hand side wall that we're removing. And we're also planning to prepare ahead of time just in case Patricia, the neighbor, wants to do a similar addition. So what we're doing is proposing a 5/8 gypsum board on the interior to allow for the fire rating. And if Patricia wanted to follow with a similar addition, we'd leave an air gap and then provide 5/8 gypsum board on the other side, creating that firewall condition. Just going to some elevations, you can see it's a very simple addition, just a very simple hip roof, 5-pitch, just to allow the windows up above to stay the same. We're showing a French door with a few steps down, and that's pretty much it. Not too much to it. Do you guys have any questions? I'd be more than happy to answer.
Questions, comments, board members? Jim?
Go ahead, Jim. I had a question. But go ahead.
Brian, can you bring up Google map looking down the neighborhood?
Yep.
I have it right here if it makes
Oh, yeah.
it easier.
Yeah, please
Yep.
go ahead. Yep.
Yeah.
Say-
Which way, Jim, are you looking?
Looking down on the house
One.
in the backyard.
Okay. How about I actually have a photo of the backyard that may
No,
be.
I want to look down from above.
I'm
Okay.
gonna put,
It's
I'll
about
do
it's about the character of the backyards of all the neighbors.
hold on,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it right now. Give me a second.
What I would like to point out to everybody, that the houses behind them and up and down the common
Brian, I
property
got it
line
right here.
I got it.
is basically very congested with buildings. So if there's anybody, you can see here, if there's anybody concerned about butters here, you can see that there are garages and everything else right up against the property line. And their deck is basically might be, isn't on the property line, even though it expands a little bit that setback. And to Brian's point about decks, as long as there's not a roof over the deck, it doesn't count as far as setback. So anyways, my point here is that they aren't any worse than anybody else here by asking to basically fill in this space.
Okay, Joe, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah, so you guys mentioned in the future, if the other party wanted to do the same thing, what would happen to that roof line? Because the two roofs would kind of crash in the middle and create some kind of valley. Would that be a problem? Did you think about that?
Absolutely, I did think about that. Let me pull up the plan again and I'll explain the thought here. So if Patricia was to move forward with doing a similar addition, same size, let me see if I can just pull up the annotate real quick so I can draw over this. What we do is just overframe over the other hip. Give me one moment here. For some reason I can't find annotate.
You create like a shed?
Yeah, so the middle would shed down. So it'd be a hip on the left and right, and then basically a shed going over the front. So you basically overframe over this area.
All right, so you wouldn't Mickey Mouse it, so you would.
No, it would look just as good as it does now, and there wouldn't be any water issues or anything like that.
And are you reusing the deck framing and all that? Are you putting a foundation on it?
Nope, we're removing it. at this point, I believe we're gonna do a full foundation there. Well, it might not be a full foundation. We'll do a concrete wall, might just
Yeah,
be, you
I
know,
hear you.
4 inch or 4 foot wall.
Yeah, but
past
you're not
the
gonna,
grade.
you're not reusing the posts, like
No.
the sonotubes and all that, you just, okay,
No, it'll be rebuilt,
thank you.
no problem.
Anybody else? Andrew, if you could stop sharing, that would, thank you. Nothing else from members of the board? Forgive me if I already said this, but we have correspondence also from the fire department, DPW. And there are no comments from either department on them. And with that, I think hearing no other comments from board, we'll open it up
Yeah.
to the public. Brian, did you want to say something before I open
I
up?
just want, if I wanted to, if I can, I wanted to, share and then I'm gonna send it to you, the neighbor support,
Okay,
just so you have that. So this is the neighbor support letter, which is all abutters in across the street and more. I mean, virtually everybody in the neighborhood. And I'll email that in to Gail.
thank you. That's helpful.
And Brian, what plan was updated slightly?
The
Architectural?
architectural plan that Andrew has, Andrew,
What's the
yeah,
final date on
I'm gonna
that?
send that in also, yeah.
The
Does
one
that
we
have
got
any
was
date?
dated August 2nd, so what was the final date?
Today's date, 11/15/23.
Thank you.
Okay, are there any members of the public that wish to comment on this application? If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Hearing and seeing none, back to the board. Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a variance pursuant to section 190-66 of the bylaw to vary the requirements of Article 6 and Table 2 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw related to the proposed addition onto the two-family dwelling that is under the condominium form of ownership. As shown on the plans presented this evening, the site plan from Paul Finocchio dated September 14, 2023, and the architectural renderings from Phoenix Architects dated November 15, 2023. Owing to circumstances related to shape or topography of the land or structures, that a literal enforcement of the provisions of this chapter would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the petitioner, and that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent or purpose of the chapter. And specifically, those variances are with the rear setback being 16.6 feet instead of the required 20, and the lot coverage being 36.7% instead of 35 as required. That is the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing, seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes,
Jim,
Yes,
Chip,
Yes,
and I vote yes. That is unanimous.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and
Thank you.
Board.
Good luck.
Okay, up next, case 2418, Three Ducklings Learning Center, Inc., 20 Del Carmine Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. For the record, Attorney Brian McGrail for the applicant, Three Ducklings. With me tonight is Tuan Hebrew, who is he is the principal of Three Ducklings. We were before your board on this on September 27th, 2023. The property, as you mentioned, is at 20 Del Carmine Street. It's a special permit for a daycare center. When we came before you on the 27th, it was for the sole purpose of asking for a waiver of the site plan requirement because this is going in an existing building. I also want to point out that special permits required in our bylaw, and is, you know, under 40A Section 3, the use is protected as a Dover Amendment use anyways, but we figured it'd be easier to apply for the special permit because the Dover Amendment doesn't address parking and and issues like that, which we knew would be discussed. So the easiest way to get here was to just do it through a special permit process, and that's why we applied. But the use is allowed by right under our bylaw and allowed by right under the Dover Amendment. I think since the site plan was waived, I think the easiest way to do this is to show the Google Earth. And can you see it? See my screen?
Yes.
Great. If I may, this is 20 Del Carmine Street. This is Water Street where my cursor is. And this is a new building that was built by Anthony Akari. And you're probably all familiar with this, with the Little League field. So you come down Del Carmine. If you want to go to the T-ball fields over here, you take a right. And this is Fernal Field, which is the upper level age group playing field. As I mentioned, this is 20 Del Carmine, where Three Ducklings is proposed to go. Their entry to the building will be through this door. That's where their unit is. So it's not on the Little League side. When we came before you, to refresh the board's memory, your biggest concerns were twofold. You said, is there going to be an outdoor play area? You want a plan showing that if there was. At this point, there is not, but we are contemplating that in the future. And if that happens, we might be back for modification in that regard. The second concern that you had or raised that evening was pick up and drop off and the number of kids that were involved. And what we presented to you that night, and we stand by it tonight, was that they're going to start with 10 children. The size of their space maxes them out under state regulation at 20. So they won't be able to have more than 20 in this area. And you had concern on the drop off and pickup, especially in conjunction with the Little League. Their hours are 7:30 to 5 p.m. and their doors are not near the Little League field. Their door is completely on the private property. They have 2 designated specific parking spaces for their use that come with their lease. And as you can see, there's plenty of places where there's not going to be like the children walking out. The plan is that the parents will park, they'll go inside and identify themselves and take their children out to the car. So it's not like parents are going to be pulling up and kids are going to be running out into the parking lot to jump in the car. That was it. I mean, I think it's a pretty straightforward application. As I mentioned, the use is allowed. And there was a mention at the pre-application meeting of Defense Edge. That shows on this Google Earth as being in this building with us. They're not. They're in another building over here, and their entrance is actually over here, and they have their own separate parking lot. So with that said, I'm happy to answer any questions. My client's also here. Tuwant is here. If you have any questions of him, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Joe, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Brian, any concerns with the building owner about parking? Has he mentioned anything?
No. My client, after we went down, after that comment was made by the board, he actually wanted to look into himself, and I have some photos. I probably won't, unless you want, I can dig them out. But he took pictures of the parking lot at like 7:30 in the morning, all around. It was virtually empty.
No, it looks like a ton of parking there, but I didn't know if it filled up.
There was nobody there. There was plenty of parking.
Okay.
And we're only gonna Tuan, you're gonna have 2 to 3 employees, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so there's not a lot of employees that are taking up parking spaces here. It's only a maximum of 20 kids, so there's plenty of parking.
What about designated for the drop off and pickup parking? Are they gonna have a little spot where they can park, or does it matter?
I don't think it matters. I'd rather not deal with that with the landlord. I mean, they're going inside the building to get their kids anyways. It's really the end of the building. The great part is some of these units have entrances over here. And I think that might have been some of the concern of the board with the Little League, but this is really isolated in this back part of the building, and it's private. It's clearly private property.
Thank you.
Greg?
Yeah, I mean, I guess this might be repeating, but my concerns were more like Joe's, especially in being in this area quite a bit in the spring and the summer. with my sons and also knowing how pickup and drop off work at other daycares that would go through that too. Is everybody's, I know you say, oh, it's only going to have 20 kids, but everyone seems to show up at once for both pickup and drop off. So especially in the afternoon, 2 parking spots. I know, I understand what you're saying. Hey, they're going to be able to just pop into a parking spot, go grab their kid and come out. That's not realistic in the way, especially pickup and drop off work with little kids. Is there any thought about some sort of, I don't know, car circle or something that they can work out? Because there doesn't seem to be, to me, a lot of parking, especially now when I drive by there on, going to Route 1 to go to Hockeytown or something every week. The the new building that we permitted, seems like a lot of people are parking on that street next to it and not in the parking lot. So street parking up and down the whole street is already taken up by baseball. So this might be a seasonal issue, but it seems like something that needs to be thought about a little bit more in depth than, hey, we have 2 parking spots. That should be fine.
Well, as far as the Little League goes, I spent many years down there, going back coaching, and Mr. Tabell was there at the same time. And, I will say their hours are 5 o'clock. And I can tell you from my experience, unless something changed with the game times, usually, kids are getting there for the games and being dropped off at the Little League field, usually no earlier than 5:30.
Yeah, I mean, I'm there now, and that's not the case. I mean, our games start. It's little kids, and there's already little kids on the small fields, and there's already games starting, especially in the summer on the other fields.
Yeah,
There's
but the
games that have
T-ball fields are over here, Greg.
No, I understand. I'm there.
You're not even near this.
No, that's my point. I'm there multiple times a week. There's games on both, and I usually have to park across the street.
Yeah.
So
I can just tell you
not
that,
as easy.
This is, I know the owner of this building is pretty cooperative with the people, because I think over time, as the later parents show up, and get to the games later, some of the parents, if the parking's taken, a lot of times they might park in this lot. And Anthony the owner of the building is very cooperative, because, most of the people are gone, but this is private property. I mean, like these spaces here, people for Little League shouldn't be parking in here. It's not for use.
They are. So I'm just saying I think it needs to be thought of a little more than, hey, they have 2 spots, we're fine.
Something I'd like to add, and this is Taulant, based on my observation. Based on my observation on the afternoons here, I drove a couple of times. So it could be that parents come at the same time, close to that 5 o'clock mark. But another thing happening is that who's ever working in that area is leaving starting, 4:30 to 5. So every time that I've been driving there, since you brought that as an issue last time, there's plenty of free spots, that get freed up, after 4:30, I would say.
I don't want to obviously take away someone's business with this, but I think it needs to be, as the business goes forward, thought about a little bit more in depth from having been in this area at that time and understanding how it works right now. And I understand most of this is probably seasonal, right? It's just spring and less so during the summer, but spring and summer, the rest of the year, those baseball fields aren't being used. So.
Okay. Anybody else? Brian, I do have to say I agree with Greg a little bit here. There's usually 3 games going on at once. People are all over the place. And I know people park over there because I'm not that far removed. Not as far back as you, but and I'm not there now.
Hey,
But-
hey.
I don't know you say you're taking your client says he's taking 10 students right now. I mean, do they have to go back to the state or us or anyone to move it up to the 20?
No. No, I mean, I don't know what they can do. I just don't know what, what we can do, because certainly the landlord, I mean, if we designate spaces, people ignore it anyways, right? So, and we certainly can't go to the landlord for the minimal space that we're renting and saying we want 20 parking spaces. That's not gonna happen in conjunction with the building.
I don't think you
So-
need 20 parking spaces. I just think some sort of pickup, even mechanics need to be worked out more. I mean, I know the place that or one of the places that I went in, and this is a few years ago now, in Melrose had like sort of a car circle type of thing, and it was, you're not allowed to get out of your car, and they have during COVID actually, we even had like a sign you had to hold up because they weren't allowed to open the window at first or whatever that said Macintosh, and they would run Liam out. And it sounds ridiculous, but it worked well. It was a creative solution that was an in and out. They had like 4 parking spaces total, but it worked. So something creative like that, I think, needs to. I'm not saying go back, try to pay more money to get more spaces. But a lot of these schools, because they have a lot of people showing up at once, they're coming up with something creative like some sort of car circle or traffic flow.
Well, I mean, with that said, I mean, this really does have a circle, right? Because
That's it. Yeah, exactly why.
I mean,
said it.
Tawan, would you envision, Tawan, that people could pull up and you could have an employee take the child out?
Sure, we can look into that, yeah.
I mean, you also have all these spaces across in that area, right?
Yeah, we have and we can park here. We just don't have exclusive parking to these spaces.
What about
So
along the building?
when I say we get 2 exclusive parking spaces because of the daycare, but we have access to the rest of the parking in the parking lot.
Right, those 2 spaces are gonna be used by your employees anyway.
Correct. Yeah, you're right.
Well, see, I wouldn't have them used by the employees. I'd have the employees park somewhere else and have those 2 spaces left open.
Well, yeah, we can do that, Chip. I mean, that's a point well taken.
I think guys are just saying you really need to think about how you're doing drop off and pickup. I think there's plenty of room there. Whether you put cones out so that the T-ball person, or the little league person running late who's dropped his kids off that wants to fly around that corner, looking for a space to park, understands that there's a daycare or, cones or something, as people have said, to be a bit creative.
Yes.
Even
I think
along
you've
the
got the space and I think you've got the spots. You just have to come up with a plan.
Well, I think the only plan that works potentially is to have the kids brought out. I don't see any other plan that's gonna work that we're gonna be able to block off parking spaces because other tenants have to be able to use them too.
I don't think you want to block off parking spaces
No.
because you want people in and out. You don't want them.
Yeah. I just,
is along the building, is that illegal? Is that like a fire zone? If you did it along the building?
there's doors there, Joe.
Oh, okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when it's not baseball season, they're probably gonna park in those spots across, run in, get their
Right.
kid and go.
Right.
And this is not gonna be an issue. It's just when there's baseball, maybe they can work with maybe you can work with
I'll
the
be hon-
owner.
I mean,
Brian, let me finish. He can work with the owner, maybe with some signage to like slow down. So as to the earlier point, cars aren't flying around there, like slow down, kids at play or something, right? So maybe some signage to get the traffic to slow down in case there's anyone, and maybe some sort of creative pickup drop off when it is busy. And that those spots could be used up and parents are going to need somewhere to go and they just provide some sort of directional guidance for them. That's all. I don't think it's going to hold up the permit. It's just, I think it needs to be thought out, as others have said, and maybe work with the owner of the building to make sure it's a safe environment for everybody.
I agree with that. I don't think anyone's trying to stop the permit, Brian, but I agree with the concept that this needs to be thought out a little bit. Jim, go ahead.
I could see on the far left where that sort of was a round area, basically. Not there, Brian, over,
Oh, sorry, Jim, right here,
over to the, yeah, over, well, not in the river either.
right in
But
this
right
area.
in that area, if there was sort of a roundabout, a small one with what was been said here about putting a sign up, slow down, kids at play or whatever. That would, if someone comes shooting down there or in the other direction, they'll slow down. But it also sort of to Greg's point about turn around and drop off. That would also give that opportunity as well. But it just needs to be a small island with a sign on it and maybe some arrows on the ground to sort of direct the traffic would do the problem, would take care of the problem to some degree.
Well, we're open to anything, but I don't know, I don't necessarily see how it's gonna help with the parking problem. You know, I stand by the point that I just don't see that you're gonna have, you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't, you know, from my experience, people that are going to Little League Field at 5 o'clock aren't gonna be parking over here. They don't wanna walk. The first people to get to the Little League Field, they're parking in here, they're parking here, they're parking.
Yeah, I will say, just again, right now, having been there for the past 2 years, you're wrong right now. They park back there because there's 3 games going on. I know they don't want to walk, but there's parking taken up so that it fills in first by in that inner lot. Yep.
Right
And then to make it even worse, then the ice cream truck comes and you can't get out. And they fill in all the way down behind those buildings. That's exactly how it works right now. Maybe it was different when you were there, but being there currently, that's exactly how it works. It goes on both sides, all the way down the street, and then both behind the building. And there's 3 games going on pretty much every day of the week.
Yeah.
Throughout the summer.
Well, Jim, I think actually, and Greg, I don't know if this is still true, but I remember actually they would park here. When Jim's talking about the turnaround, they park here too, right? Right here.
Last time over the summer, there were like campers and or something like that, or trailers or something right there. So you weren't able to park in there.
Well, Tuan, what are your thoughts on this? Because I mean, the issue he's having is time is of the essence for him because you guys don't meet for another month and he's paying rent. So you know, that's where time is a little bit of the essence of him. So I'm trying to come up.
Brian, if I didn't hear everybody right, I don't think anybody wanted to hold up the permit. I think it was that a plan needs to be created and he needs to think about it. I don't think it needs to be part. I think we've probably said enough about it. And I think you just really need to be aware of that. I mean, it's his parents that are gonna freak out if there's issues. Right? We give permission, it's a use. I don't see any problem with us granting the special permit. He's gotta come up with a parking plan. We suggest he comes up with a parking scheme and plan for those busy times. That's how I hear the conversation going.
Yeah, I'm with you,
Correct me
Jim.
if I'm wrong.
I have no problem. I just brought up the issue. That's all. I have no problem with the special permit itself.
Right, we don't have site plan review. We're not looking for like stripes and anything on a parking lot. We don't have site plan review here. We're just granting the use. I think we're all generally in agreement. It's just, yep, as stated.
Yeah, my only point is that we pointed this out when you came in for a pre, and I don't really hear a response to what we pointed out as a concern. So again, I'm not looking to stop the permit, but that part's a little bit frustrating, I guess, from my point of view. I won't speak for everybody, but while you're contemplating that, I did get correspondence from DPW had no comment. And I got another one from the fire chief, Brian. I'm assuming you saw these.
I did.
He has following comments: all fire alarm and sprinkler equipment and devices located inside the daycare center must be connected to the building's fire alarm control panel and sprinkler system. The daycare center must be equipped with an approved carbon monoxide detective system that sends a supervisory signal to the building's fire alarm control panel. The children's outdoor play area must be adequately protected from vehicular traffic. Sounds like there isn't one though. The main entrance to the daycare must be well labeled for rapid identification by first responders in the event they are responding to an emergency. So any approval should include the comment from the fire chief.
Yeah, I would respectfully request that, that it would be, instead of, any requirements that he has, but maybe not stated in that letter. Because some of the things that he stated in the letter, we think we're gonna be able to meet with him and not have to do some of those to the extent that he required. So I would rather to be a condition that the fire chief, so he has to be satisfied anyways, he's not gonna give a certificate of occupancy. I just don't want those specific conditions. For example, the carbon monoxide connected to the panel. We think we can do that. We're not sure. If we can't, knowing Chief Sullivan, we'll work something out with him that might not be that.
Okay. We should have some nuanced language in there that acknowledges that the fire chief did come on
Yes.
record though.
Yeah, or, basically, that prior to any build out, the fire chief needs to be satisfied with that he's satisfied that his safety requirements have been met.
Well, you won't get an occupancy permit if
That's
they're
right.
not.
No,
Yeah,
well, that's why I said we can use some nuanced language. I don't fear that nothing will happen. I just want it recorded.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Is there, at this point, I think I'm gonna see if there's any public comment on this. Brian, can you stop sharing?
Yes, I can.
Are there any members of the public that are here that would like to comment on this application? If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Hearing, seeing none, back to the board. It's the pleasure of the board.
Chair, I move that we grant a special permit pursuant to Article 4, Section 190-23 of the Wakefield zoning bylaw to allow a daycare center in an existing building. And I make this motion based on the findings of this board that the requested use is listed in the table of use regulations as requiring a special permit in the district for which the application is made. The requested use is essential and or desirable to the public convenience or welfare. The requested use will not create or add to undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. The requested use will not overload any public water drainage or sewer system or any other municipal system for such an extent that the requested use or any developed use in the immediate area or any other area of the town will be unduly subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or the general welfare. The requested use will not impair the integrity or character of the district or adjoining districts, nor be detrimental to the public health, convenience, or welfare. And the requested use will not, by its addition to the neighborhood, cause an excess of that particular use that could be detrimental to the character of said neighborhood. And this is motion and is made based on the condition that the requirements of the fire chief are satisfied prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, regular voting members, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes,
Chip,
Yes,
and I vote yes. That is unanimous.
Thank you.
You asked, Brian, that you and your client speak with the landlord, though. You heard us. I don't want to beat the dead horse on the parking and traffic, so.
Points well taken. Yeah.
All right, on to the next new hearing, 24-19, Margaret C. Wilson, trustee of the Wilson Family Trust, located at 47 Salem Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Attorney Brian McGrail here on behalf of the applicant. Also with me tonight is Emily Barron, who is our architect from Tucker Architects on this project. This relates to property situated at 47 Salem Street. And let me bring up the site plan and then we'll go to the architecturals. My clients, this is a property at 47 Salem that's in the general residence zoning district. So 2 families are allowed by right. This is only a single family dwelling. And they're looking to put some additions onto this property and keep it a single family dwelling. They're not looking to make it a 2-family dwelling. So the use will be the same. The Wilson family has owned this property for years. The children now live overseas. they come and visit for extended periods of time with their mom. And they basically want to expand the house to kind of create extra living area when they spend significant periods of time with her. Let me. Second.
Brian, do you want me to share the screen? This is Jeff Tucker.
Oh, no, Jeff, you're here too? Is
Yep.
Emily? No, I'm gonna bring
she's on as well, but I can share the site plan if that helps.
I'm gonna
you.
bring it up. I got it right
Great.
here. Thank you. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Great. So these are additions to the house, and this kind of gives you an idea of the footprint, what's happening here. I want to point out of the gate that you might take note that this is only a finding under 19058A. We're not asking for any variance here, even though we are going further because we have existing nonconformities. So we're intensifying the nonconformities, but we're not creating new ones. The red highlight, and Jeff will go through the architectural plans when I'm done in detail, but as far as the footprint goes, there's already a porch, but that's being changed a little bit on the front, which Jeff will show you, or Emily. And then this kind of highlights in red where the additions are. If to go to the zoning table, this is a legal non-conforming lot. It's only got 47.5 feet of frontage. It's a pretty narrow lot. And it's the lot width is currently 43.26. It's the lot width. We need a finding on that too, because you can see I highlighted that because it actually gets, because of the addition, as you know, you need to meet lot width all the way through the structure. So because the lot gets narrow in the back, the lot width gets more non-conforming. It goes from 43.26 to 43.01 because of the addition. And then lot area, 8,000 is required. This has 5201, another non-conforming component. Minimum front yard is 15. It's currently 26. We're going to be 17 with our front porch, so that will be in compliance. The setback, the way he did it was facing the street. So his right yard, where he says it's 7.3, the surveyor, it's going to 6.9. You can see that in the back here. And it's really just the addition that's getting a little bit closer there, but otherwise it gets further away as you go up front. We have on the other side, 10 is required. It's currently 9.9 over here. We're going to 5, but the 5 point is here. You can see it up front. The rear setback is 20. It's currently 27. We're going to be at 23.3. So we're meeting the rear setback requirement. There's really minimal intrusion into the rear. It's only about another 4 feet going back, but in any event, it actually meets it to this closer line of the rear, and it well meets it going back towards the back. As far as stories go, Emily classified this as a 2-story home because the attic is unfinished. 3 are allowed in this district. Maximum height is 35 feet. There's no relief for height. We're well under the height requirement. It's currently 28.6. It's going to be 29.35, going up a little bit, but in compliance. Maximum building coverage 35%. Currently it's 18, proposed is 31.9. So even on this undersized lot, we're going to meet that lot coverage requirement. Minimum open area, currently 70, going to 56, 30 is all is required. It doesn't meet the coefficient of regularity of shape, but that isn't changing. So I just wanted to set the table on that. And then Jeff, can you share your architectural plans, or Emily?
Yes.
Great. And could you go through those for the board, please?
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm going to
Jeff,
share my screen now.
Yeah, if you could just identify yourself too.
Yes, my name is Jeff Tucker. I'm principal architect of Tucker Architecture in Marblehead.
Thank you.
Jeff, can you blow that up a little bit?
Yes, and let me get the
Not full screen.
Are you not seeing my full screen right now?
Are you guys seeing it?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And because Zoom just keeps changing its apps, I don't seem to have the annotation tools, but I'll just describe it with my cursor. So in the upper left, you can see the existing conditions photograph from the street. Simple gable end structure with dormers coming off the side toward the attic. And it's got a simple hip roofed front porch. The plan is to expand that front porch a little bit deeper to make it more useful for the family. And then to wrap that around the right side, as you see in the rendering on the bottom, to create an expanded space for a kitchen and dining room behind this. As Brian described before, the owners have owned this house for decades. They raised their children here. One of their children has moved to overseas and has reproduced, giving them grandchildren, which they like to see during the summer. So the hope in this is several goals here. One is to make the house more accommodating for visiting families so that they can see these folks in the summer, but also for the owners themselves to be able to age in place. The plan is to take over some of the first floor and allow for aging in place and first floor living. So again, some of the existing first floor footprint would become a bedroom and suite for the couple that raised their kids here. Up in the upper right hand side here, you can see what the right side of the house looks like. So this is where the proposed kitchen and dining room dining addition, a one-story addition on the first floor would be. The middle image you're seeing down here is the rear facade. And then the bottom down here is really kind of matching what you're seeing up in this photograph here. You can see that we removed the existing bay on the side here and have created some dormers to get better access on that second floor. And let me go to a floor plan here. So here's the existing basement. Here's the proposed basement. So we're adding some additional full basement toward the rear. As you noticed in the photograph, that the building is already elevated. So by giving ourselves a frost wall, we're already going to end up with a full basement anyway, in order to create that foundation. This is the existing first floor. So you can see it's a fairly modest house. It's got a living room, dining room, and den out back. And as you can see in the proposed, that now we're creating that first floor suite for the couple. The red lines in this, by the way, indicate existing features to be removed. So you can see the existing bay, for example, at the top, which will be removed. You can see the footprint of the existing porch, which is planned to be expanded. And you can see the existing walls here and existing rear deck. So it's really not going much further than the stairs of the existing rear deck. And then our stairs go a little bit further. This is the existing second floor. So this is actually quite modest. You can see that there's three pretty modest bedrooms and a bathroom. The plan is to create two larger bedrooms as well as a suite on the second floor, and then two improved bathrooms as well. And then the attic, which is just storage. Here's the existing attic. We're going to create some stairs to be able to get up there for storage and continue to have an attic space up there as well. And then here's a roof plan of the existing. You can see these shed dormers that are currently on the building. And we're modifying some of those and extending some of them to create that additional second floor space. Existing street elevation here. And that side elevation where the kitchen's going to go. This is the existing. Here's the proposed. You can see the expanded porch on the front. That's really in keeping with the existing porch. It just helps us wrap the building there. And then on the bottom, you can see that proposed one-story addition down here for the kitchen, and then the expanded dormer up here, which is going to create that back bedroom. This is the rear elevation on the top, and the opposite side on the bottom as existing. And here again is the proposed on the rear. So rear, a small little roof deck off the rear, sliders going into that dining room. And again, that other side where we're expanding some of those dormers to get better access. Can I answer any questions?
Okay, members of the board, Kasumi, you have your hand up?
Where is the door from the full basement goes to? Because I don't see a door on the new elevation.
The door to the full basement. Right now, there's an existing door down there, which is kind of like bulkhead access. It's just so that they can kind of load equipment in there.
No, that one I see that the one on the top.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah, I don't see that door on the elevation.
I think we may have neglected to put that on the elevation. That is just really access to that full basement because it's not connected to the existing full basement. we needed a second means out of that, or a means to get into it. We are not showing that, I believe, on that elevation.
But is that come out to the driveway
It
level?
comes out to that side of the house. It would be right here. Looks like we're not actually showing that on our elevation, so we can certainly, that would actually be, I believe, an egress window, not a door, because there's no grade there for a door. So we would be having a window with the ability to get out of it on that side, but no stair or anything like that.
Okay.
Like a window well.
So you have a stair inside of the basement to
Yeah,
that window?
I think there's a little inconsistency in our basement plan here. Is what we would actually be doing is coming through this wall to connect to 2 full basements. So this is just a window, an egress window and a window well. So no door, no stairs, nothing like that into there.
Okay.
Okay, Jim, see your hand up?
Yeah, I'm quite concerned with the expansion of this towards the property line, going from 9 feet to 5 feet. And we always, whenever we do one of these, basically, particularly a new building, we're quite concerned about the number of windows. They're looking at the neighbors, basically, at their house or into their windows or whatever, with other projects that are brand new. And this basically leaves very little room on the side. It's probably, I'm going to guess, maybe 15 feet away from the neighbor's building next to it. I think the object here is a good one. It's just that the property really doesn't provide for an appropriate expansion along that side. Front and back may be fine, but the side is just phenomenal when you go from 3 windows now that look to the neighbor to about 8 or 9 that look to the neighbor's house, or look at least in that direction. So I'm wondering, how's the neighbor feel about this, and has the neighbor been talked to? And I'm particularly talking to the neighbor to the right.
Yes, so we actually do have the endorsement of that neighbor. I do want to point 2 things out, because I appreciate the fact that on that lower level where we are closer, remember that it's at that corner that we're 5 feet away from that property line. That these windows down here, one is into a mudroom, a few of these are into a kitchen. But some of the windows up above, some of these are actually existing. They're going to become slightly larger, but they're on an existing wall that is being extended. So again, this upper piece actually steps back. But I appreciate the fact that there are additional windows looking toward that neighbor. However, we do have their endorsement, so they've been spoken with. I believe Brian, our attorney, has an email of endorsement from them.
Correct.
Okay, Jim, is that it?
That's it.
Greg?
Yeah, mine was, this is probably a question for Brian about that same side also, and this is probably just because things look. I drove by there, but when you drive by fast, it doesn't help, and then you look at Google Earth and it's probably distorted. Have you looked at how close? Do you not need a variance for how close the house is? The distance between.
Oh, the 2 houses, Greg?
The 2 houses, yeah, there we go, sorry.
Yeah.
Fumbling over my words.
Yeah, it's funny because when we started this, I thought the same thing. A good point. And then I looked at let me just bring it up. Because I said the same, I said the absolute same thing to the surveyor. And then as I researched it, I don't think it applies. Because let me just bring it up. It's the first thing that jumped out at me too. Can I share my screen? Could you stop
Yep,
sharing?
let me jump off.
Yep.
There you go.
Thank you. Just take a second. So this is the table that, the dimensional table. In single residence district, you've got footnote 10. And footnote 10 is the distance between buildings on other lots. And it only applies to single residence.
Okay.
So I got same thing. As you know, general residence where we are does not have footnote 10.
Wait, sis.
Yeah.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, okay. Now that I read it. Yep.
So
Okay.
so we have a single family house, but we're in the general residence zoning district.
Yep. Yeah.
So, but you know, I also want to share this because I thought it might be helpful that there is some decent distance there between the houses because
Yeah,
that's
we know the number, by the way. The proposed corner to corner in the proposed condition would be 21 feet of
Yeah, I thought-
separation.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty far apart. Because the driveway from that neighbor's house is on that side.
Yep.
It is Jeff had mentioned, here's a photograph. So it's pretty good separation because they're set back pretty far from their line.
That's the left side, by the way. The yellow house is us.
Yeah,
your
that's
concern-
the other side.
Yes.
Oh,
The
I got
side with
other
the
picture
addition
too.
is the opposite
Yeah.
side, which is
Yeah.
21 feet in the proposed condition.
Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that picture too. So let me bring that up.
No, that's fine. It doesn't apply anyway,
Okay.
so it doesn't matter.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Oh, yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, Brian, you summarized all the zoning differences, but again, some of them are intensifying, but they still meet the requirements. So the only ones that don't meet the requirement that you're intensifying, I'm reading, is lot area and side yard setbacks. Correct?
I'm gonna double check it.
Because the other ones, you know, you're encroaching, but they're still meeting the requirements. So I think you're good there in terms of the finding that where you're intensifying something that doesn't already meet the requirement. I think if I'm reading the table correctly,
Yeah.
is
Minimum
lot
lot
area.
width too.
Yeah, so the
Lot
issue,
width,
we
yeah.
have lot width, we've got
left
not
and right.
front,
Too.
we've got both side yards that are being intensified,
Right, lot width and both sides.
both sides. I think that's it.
Okay.
Is that what you had, Mr. Hatfield?
Yes, I said lot area, but I meant lot width. Yes, lot width on both sides. Yeah, just for the purposes of the board, so we know
Yep.
that those are the ones that are really in play for the terms of a finding here.
Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, at this point, I am going to open it up to public comment. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to comment on this application? If so, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Seeing none. Back to the board. Pleasure of the board. Oh, Brian, did you, oh, sorry, late hand. Peter? I see your hand up. Is it Ganji?
Yes, Peter Ganji. We're the abutters, Sarah and I are the abutters to the rear of the Wilsons.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to mention, we have no problem with the addition.
Okay. Thank you for commenting.
You're gonna ask me for the correspondence from the neighbor, Mr. Chair?
I would, exactly.
I read your mind.
Yeah.
This is the email that we received. So I had asked for this, and this is from Emily to me. This is Margaret Wilson's the owner of the house. Emily, here's a letter of support from my neighbors at 49, and this is the email from Miss Welch, who's the neighbor there. We approve the extension being built at 47 Salem Street, Jane and Tom Welch.
Yeah.
They're the owners. And I think Jeff, there's a long history between the families. Is that true?
Yes.
And just to confirm, they've seen the plans. I know we've had people before say, hey, I approve of this, and then say, oh, well, I wasn't shown the plans.
Yes, they have.
Okay.
Okay.
I think we had that once or twice in it.
Those weren't my cases, Greg.
I'm not gonna get into those ones.
Okay. Yeah, I think that addresses Jim's comments, so I think that's helpful. So back to the board again. Pleasure of the board.
Well, Mr. Chair, I move that we grant a finding and determination pursuant to section 19050A of the bylaw that the proposed reconstruction, changes, extensions, and alterations at the subject address 47 Salem Street, Wakefield, based on the plans presented to us this evening, the site plan by Ott and Dwyer Incorporated, dated October 12, 2023, and the architectural renderings from Tucker Architects, dated October 16, 2023, which will be amended to correctly show the updated basement door and window access.
Yeah.
But based on those updated plan, shall increase the existing non-conforming nature of said structure with respect to lot width being 43.01 with the proposed alterations, and the side yard setbacks being 6.9 feet and 5 feet on both sides. But we also find that the proposed reconstruction changes, extensions, and alterations shall not be substantially more detrimental than the existing nonconformities to the neighborhood.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I think we're gonna do, for this one, it's gonna be Dave, Joe, Jim, Greg, and me. So Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
Greg,
Yes.
and I vote yes. As approved unanimously.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck. Okay. Moving on, that's the end of the new hearings for the evening. We're going to other matters, which is 998 to 1000 Main Street, Greenwood Station LLC.
Good evening, Chairman Lucy and Board. We thank you for hearing us, and we apologize for not being able to present as well as we should have at the last session. And what I'd like to do is start with a memo that I prepared that you all have in front of you. And I was going to read through that, and then I will turn over the architectural discussion to Dan DeLulo, our project architect. So have you all had a chance? So how this came about was we obviously submitted for permit, and Mr. McBain had gone through the drawings and made note of 8 items in particular that I've listed here in this memo. And you all have the memo in front of you because I can read it, but you can also, I can just follow along. Or would you like me to read it?
No, we have the memo.
Okay.
So actually, if I could just interrupt you, Jim, have you had a chance to look at this? Are you?
No, I have not.
Okay. Okay, so maybe we should walk through the memo then.
Okay. So thank you in advance for the board's time and commitment to the city of Wakefield and our project. I will communicate this as if it were our first time coming before the board for this request for a minor change request. We submitted permit application plans and supporting documents to ISD on September 22nd, 2023. And Jim McBain's review, he came back with the following comments for our team to address. We submitted documents that addressed his items 1 through 5. For items 6 to 8, please see below comments and associated supporting documents. So the first 5 items where we had attached the wrong civil drawings to the project. They were for another project on Main Street in a different town. We provided those to Jim, and there was no comment back. The next one had to do with what we did to start discussing last session, which was item 6 here. Sheets A6 and A7. These drawings do not show the garage ventilation. This is Jim's comment. These drawings do not show the garage ventilation opens in the foundation. Also, it does indicate the approved finish and other materials as approved exterior material list on the elevations or in a chart keyed to the elevations. Through wall vents for dryers and bathrooms are not shown on the building elevations at locations noted on H1. Our response was the louvers were, on what we resubmitted back to Jim prior to asking for this minor request for minor change, we were able to show him the vents in the washer dryer vents. We addressed the finished materials are now listed on the drawings. But the one that we're going to speak about here is these louvers that had to do in the garage. Our response is the louvers were intended to provide the required ventilation for the garage. In the course of design, it became apparent that the louvers were not adequate to provide the 50% open air required for an open air garage, and power ventilation was required. A 50% open air garage with the resulting requirements to heat the plumbing elements above the garage ceiling does not allow us to meet the new energy requirements effective January 1st, 2024. We're being proactive in building to the new code. This solution of a closed garage with a CO activated exhaust system allows for required ventilation with minimal heat required for proposed plumbing below the ceiling. Should the board want to have the grills for aesthetic reasons, we can install false grills mimicking the original concept. Additionally, we have shown the location of fresh air intake and exhaust louvers, each of which is approximately five inches square. We're going back to the vents now. We're talking about the bathroom vents. The louvers on the top floor, again, we're talking about the sidewall vents, bathrooms, washer, dryer, or washer and hood range, will go out the roof. So we reflected those. And in a moment, Dan will present what was presented to the ZBA and approved initially, and then what is proposed. And then the next item, number 7, ties back to item number 6. It was the drawing, sheet S1. This drawing does not specify where the garage ventilation openings are in the foundation. And that is, of course, because they were eliminated, as we just stated above. The last item on here, 8, was sheet E9. This drawing does not specify the approved fixtures within an exterior material list in the decision. Response E9 lighting schedule corrected to reflect approved interior lighting. See supporting documents. So we have those documents. You've had them in front of you as well. And is there any questions on what I just read before I turn this? So I guess what I wanted to do is be clear that what this minor change request is, and Jim, I'd like you to yay or nay that, is about the louvers in the side of the building, that everything else has been addressed.
No, I realize that. I think after the last meeting, I think, well, the material you sent me clarified what you were doing. And in the end, basically, particularly the site was in Malden, having taken that and corrected that, most of that had been corrected. And if it hadn't been corrected, I commented basically on the ones that were outstanding. You know, the electrical basically fixture, because they were carrying a dollar value per unit, when in fact specifically it said basically which units were going to be used in what we approved. So, and I don't think there's any need for any grills on the outside of the building. I agree with the approach you've taken, basically on ventilating this instead of having a wide open garage. And the energy, basically by having a wide open garage, you're going to have cold floors on the units, on the first floor units, and you're probably going to have problems with your piping. So I agree that that's the appropriate action to take. So I'm pretty close to right on this, but I would let Dan go ahead and present or go through so for the rest of the board.
Thank you, Mr. McBain.
All right, can I share my screen?
Yep, you have that capacity.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so just to recap what's been going on here, what I'm showing you here is the approved exterior drawings with the garage louvers that we had proposed. And here is our proposed exterior without the garage louvers. And I'm getting the opinion that it's preferable to have no louvers on the garage than this alternate full grill that we could do if you for some reason wanted the look of a louver. And in that case, we'd do the same louver and essentially surface mount it to the garage wall and paint black behind it. I don't think it's any improvement over the non-louvered situation.
I think, Dan, you know, you originally had openings, so we wanted to know what you were putting in the openings. That was what's submitted.
Yeah.
They just went away when you resubmitted for permit. So
they
I
went
don't
away.
think there was any reason for aesthetics on either part, basically.
Oh. Well, I'm glad we agree on that. But what I've done also is I've shown the locations of the exterior lights that were approved on the original building, the original drawings, and I added the 5-inch square louvers on the side of the building, which are essentially toilet ventilation louvers, with the top louvers coming up, the top vents coming up through the roof, so we don't have to interrupt the two sides of the building. And we don't have any louvers or ventilation shown on the front of the building. The intake louver for the garage is in the soffit over the garage door, so it's not really visible. The exhaust louver for the garage system is in the far back corner, so it's not visible from the street and won't disturb the neighbors to any significant extent. The other change that we had talked about, let me enlarge this, was in the fixture schedule. This SL2 is the Lithonia fixture that we had was originally approved in the package. So we added that as the SL2, and this SL1 fixture is the recessed can light that goes across the front of the building and up over the, where are we? Goes across the front of the building and up over the, where am I? Recessed LED fixtures that go across the soffit over the garage door and around the soffit over the entrance, so we don't have any actual light fixtures on the front of the building. All we've got on the exterior of the building is the Lithonia fixtures that are shown on the side. So I think that's the extent of the changes that we wanted to make on this go around, if I'm correct. We did add on the approved exterior materials and the where is it? This is the approved fixture, that SL2 fixture that's up the side of the building. It's that I believe it's a Lithonia fixture. So I think that we've complied with all of that, all of the basic requirements, except for really the deletion of those garage louvers. So I think that's where we are with it. That's what we're asking for approval on, is the deletion of the garage louvers, and the fact that we did change the lighting fixture schedule to agree with what was originally shown on the approved drawings.
Yeah, Greg's got a question, Jim, but so you're in agreement with that, they've identified all the things that they need the minor mod for?
Well, the ones I came across when I reviewed them, yes.
Okay. Greg, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just on the deletion of the garage, I thought we went the opposite and said they should do something, whether it be plantings or something there, because now we have a wall. I know that Dan just said there's no aesthetic change or something. I don't know his exact words, but I thought we went the other direction and said there should be something there. I don't think we said it should be those fake grates, but I thought the direction was to do something to break up a flat wall.
Yeah, if you look at the right side elevation here, excuse me, the left side elevation, from the front of the garage, probably back almost halfway up the building, there's a landscaped area that sticks out and is landscaped, but the rest of the garage, I'd say from here up to the end, is parking drive area that comes right up to the building. So essentially from here up to here, there's no opportunity to landscape up against the building. We can certainly landscape this section where we come in off the street and up into the driveway. And we'll certainly do that. We would want to do that anyway, but from here up, there's really very little opportunity to do that. And it's up off the street, and there's a significant distance between that side of the building and the next building over, which is a condominium. So we'll do the planting that we can do to screen that part of the building, but we can only do it for, I'm gonna say a third of the way up the building.
Do you have a site plan that represents that, Dan?
I don't have it called up, but let me take a quick look here.
Because Greg, I'm in agreement with you that now that the grills are gone,
Yeah.
that's a lot of exposed grid.
Yeah, so I was gonna
concrete.
say, and while he's doing that, that to me isn't a satisfactory answer that, it's far up and it's another condominium. Okay, do so, I understand if you can't do planting, but you know, let's break up that wall somehow or put something on it. I don't think even on 40Bs we've ever had a project that just says, oh, it's, you know, you can't really see it unless you live in this other place, so we'll just leave it as one big wall.
Yeah. No, I looked at my notes, Greg. That was definitely brought up last time.
Yeah. So whether it be you wrap that stone around or you put something, I mean, I'm not a designer. I don't know how to do it, but I know we've never allowed that on any other project.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me go back to my.
I would agree with you, Greg. That was jumping out at me as well. We're gonna have almost a full story and a half of gray exposed concrete.
And even what Dan just mentioned, that's only one side. The other side, I assume, is the same. So what are we going to do there too?
All right, let me find that. Hold on just a second.
I mean, the grates actually broke it up, and I don't like the idea of faux grates, that's for sure, but. I mean, you think about what we've done on other projects, we've done plantings, we've done climbing vines, we've done lots of different things.
Okay, here's the landscape plan that was attached as the part of the approved drawings. You can see that we've got some, we coming in the main drive, I come around the corner of the building and I've got a landscaped area up this part of the building, like I said, that goes about a little over a third of the way back maybe. And we've got landscape.
You're only showing one corner right now, Dan. You need to pull back and show us.
Oh, let me pull back. Okay, so here's the building footprint. If I come in off of Main Street up into this side parking lot, I've got this landscaped area that's up against the building, going it back maybe a little over a third of the way back. And if I look at that landscaping that's up there, I've got it says I've got 3 H's, which is a Rose of Sharon, 3 to 4 feet. And those go, that's a pretty tall,
I guess just to
eventually a pretty tall bush.
That's not the area we're worried about though. We understand that it's moving back instead of just having a wall, instead of saying, yeah, well, there's parking. It's been done to creative stuff to break that up before, and probably on the other side too. I know it's right up against the property line, but assuming now that there's not going to be any openings there, that it's a wall there also.
Well, yeah, there's a building wall, and the pavement is right up against it. And this is our property line, but the area between our property line and the actual building next door is not open space. It's relatively, it's not thickly wooded right now, but it's very heavily vegetated, which we can't touch because we don't own it. Let me see if I can look and see if.
Well, do we bring the siding down farther to eliminate half of that, or what do we do to eliminate the exposed concrete where you used to have all grade?
There is no exposed concrete. Let me go back to.
Sure there is. What do you have below the siding?
I've got
where all the grates were.
This is all, if I say that landscaped area is back to where my hand is there, this is all exterior, it's all ephes on the concrete block and steel stud foundation wall. It's not exposed concrete. It's the finished material, which is which is acrylic stucco in that Granitex finish. So it's a granite look stucco finish. It's not exposed concrete.
Do you have a picture of that?
Yeah, it's in the material list. Let me go look for it.
The way it's still a
Still-
walls, the
still a
way you
lot of
can
feet
change
of
the
that.
materials and break it up a little bit. I don't know. Maybe no one else, people who can envision it better don't agree, but it just seems like one giant wall now.
Oh,
Okay.
it is. I mean, look at the amount of wall it is compared to the stories.
And on both sides, I think Dan, you were misunderstanding what I was saying. I understand on that as you're looking down the left side, but the right side, where you have very little, foot, 2 feet to your property line. I'm assuming it's the same now. Same on both sides. Just a giant wall.
Find that material list. A
Jim
lot of,
McBain, what do you think about this conversation?
Talking to me?
Yeah,
Yeah, but what do you think about this conversation?
Well,
What's
I
your
think
opinion?
you could certainly change the color of the material. I think let's see it. And I know from walking the site, there is quite a bit of vegetation on either side, particularly towards that project to the left, because and it's got a heck of a retaining wall. And I believe there was conversation at the time where some of that was the butter was willing to allow them to trim some of it because it was oak with a lot of dead wood. Basically, they were going to do something about it.
yeah. The stucco that you approved is a granite look stucco system that is more to match the color of the stone that's on the front of the building than it is it doesn't look like stucco. It looks more like a stone material. So that's essentially what goes on the part of the building that is here uncolored.
It could be jointed too into
Oh, it is, yeah, it is. It'll have control joints in it, and you can see those joints. Actually, you can see the joints right there, and we can tool those joints so it actually looks like a 2x2 or a 2x4 or a 3x3 block of granite. Because when it's done, it will look like essentially granite. It's a very nice. It's a very nice looking quality stucco material when it's installed. And again, it's when you get up to the end of the building, it more or less disappears. It's essentially from here to here, and everything down here is essentially masked by trees right up against the building. So it's really from this point to this point that you're going to see that granite look stucco.
It's hardly going to make any difference on that side. The other side, on the other hand, has got quite a bit of exposure.
Yeah, so that's what I've kept trying to say a few times here, and everyone just keeps talking about the other side of the building. I'm talking about the big giant wall.
I'm sorry, Greg. I misunderstood you. I'm sorry.
I know, and I said it like 3 different times, and you kept saying that side, and I kept saying no. I'm talking about where there's like a foot on the side with very little space to the property line. It's just a giant wall. No matter whether the material looks nice or not, it's still just one giant wall. Albeit maybe it is a nice wall, but why can't we break it up and use different colors, as Chip said? Or I think we talk about this on a lot of projects, and is breaking things up, and now we just have a giant wall.
Yeah, no, you're right. But there's not much opportunity on that side when you see what's the setback is to the property line is
But
It's
it's not
hot
going to
lighting.
increase or decrease the setback if we just alternate the material or the colors of material.
I would joint it basically. I'd, make it like a typical module, basically, that might be 18 by 12 or something like that, or 18 by 24 or something like that. So it has a rhythm to it. And it
Mhm.
looks like it was stone laid up,
All right,
a
Mr. Ken.
granite
Mr.
laid
Ken-
up stone.
Yeah, Mr. Kenworthy wants to say something. Maybe he can add some light into this dialogue. You're on mute, Mr. Kenworthy.
You're muted, Eric.
There we go. Thank you. On the right side of the building, there'll also be on that close property line right there, there's gonna be a 6-foot vinyl fence. Also going up, to help with the neighbors, mitigate the neighbors situation there. So you will have a 6-foot white vinyl fence on that side as well, which might help mitigate that situation.
Not by much.
How far away from the building will that be?
I'd say
feet?
about 4 feet from the building.
Yeah, about that. And we can't build up the grade on that side because of the existing grade on the neighbor's property. So that we're stuck with the grade as it is. But I think I'm going along with Jim with this when I say that if we take that granite look stucco, and I can bring you folks a sample of it. I have a sample card of it. If we do that granite look stucco and we put jointing in it so that it actually looks like stucco block, it's gonna soften the look of that side. It's not bare concrete, and it's not painted concrete block. It's actually a finished material. I mean, the only other choice would be to drag the lap siding down, which I don't think we want to do because that only makes the building look taller, and we're only, I think, 5 feet from the property line anyway, so it doesn't serve any real purpose in doing that other than just to change the material.
I would defer to Jim if he says that's a suggestion that I trust him, but I wanted to point it out, if I as a lawyer can see it, then anyone driving down the street's gonna be able to see it.
Can I step in? real quick?
Yeah, Joe had something to say.
So to bring that point, you can bring the siding down, and if it's too much siding, you can always break it up with AZAC panels under the windows to make them look like fake windows if you want to do something like that. So it's not all just siding. I've seen that done in the past on other buildings. It's just bring the siding down and then some AZAC panels below the other windows above it to break it up so it's just not a full wall of siding from front to back. That's another option.
Yeah, that's possible.
Assuming?
I mean, you could do it almost like 50-50, like bring the siding down 5 feet and then joint the granite the rest of the way.
Exactly.
Because the siding just ends up right underneath those decks. So you could easily bring it down 4 or 5 feet.
Yeah.
On that wall, helping that, and then block it the other way, and then also do the blocking to make it look like a granite foundation.
Yeah. All right, Kasumi, you wanted to say something?
I agree with Joe and Chip, so that side neighbor is I think it's a townhouse, the 2 stories townhouse. I walk there every day. So I don't think you want to see gray stucco from your bedroom windows every day, like every morning and every night. So bringing down the siding a little bit down, something more little pleasing to the eyes would be nicer, especially it's so close to the neighbor building. The other thing I wanted to bring out was on the front entry. Would you consider something a little bit nicer than Lithonia light fixtures, because those are very utility looking light fixtures? So like
We don't,
you,
yeah,
you,
we don't
you
have
have,
those, we don't have those on the front elevation.
but you have the SL1 fixture on the arched opening.
On the arched opening, what we have is recessed fixtures in the line of the arch.
Like a round can, like a round recess or a square recess.
Yeah, let me go back. Hold on just a minute. Yeah, they're hard to see here, but we've got 1, 2, 3, I think there's 4, 5, 6, 7 just recessed flush with the finished material light fixtures that you don't even see the fixture, you see the light.
So
And it's just to wash the front of that building with light rather than have a visible light fixture.
where is the SL1 fixture? It said exterior front light on your schedule. It's a Lithonia WSD fixture. Where does that go?
Wait a minute. On
your E9 sheet.
no, it says SL1 to be determined.
Oh,
But
okay, yeah, the drawings we got is still it calls as a Lithonia light fixtures. Would you consider something a little bit nicer just on the arched opening? To just kind of highlight the main opening.
Well, we're highlighting it with light now. I mean, we can find some
more like a decorative fixtures.
If you want us to put decorative fixtures on the front of the building, I think, Eric, I mean, we're certainly willing to do that, but we were just washing the front of the building with recessed cans. I mean, if you folks want to change the parameters of your approval, that's something we weren't prepared to talk about changes to what you had already approved. We were just asking for a minor change.
Okay, yeah, I'm coming in a little late on this project, but that's just my thought.
We try not, I think, way back when. I mean, this is like 3 years ago, maybe 4 years before COVID.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
So I let's go back to the elevations. I'm not, that would take us a while and at this point we're trying to get a permit out of this.
Right.
So let's go back to the elevation on this on Greg's favorite side for the moment. If you see, there's a certain amount of, if you're on the second floor under the balcony, is a band there, and there's a certain amount of clapboards there. So if we run that band, we run the same distance of clapboards down under the balconies on the first floor, and then have that band come across the whole.
Call it a water table or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So it looks like the other floors, and then below that is we do this granite with a modular block. So we joint it basically from there down, and then of course then you got a fence that's going to cover the ground plane, so to speak, and that would, I think, help. To Kasumi's point, basically, the buildings next door are not that far away.
No, they're not.
It's a two-story building, which means the second floor is probably just below the first floor in this building, because it's also dropping off. And along the property line, there seems to be a bunch of trees, which I suspect will end up dead when this building goes in or all the excavation disturbs their roots. So there probably will be some more trees going back in, depending how close they are to the property line. Not that they're shown on the drawings, but they're right up against. You've hardly got any room to.
you know, revisiting this 3 years later, I'm trying to figure out if we ever had a discussion on how they're gonna build that side of the building.
No, I don't
With a
think we did.
5 foot, with a 5 foot setback.
Yeah, well, I don't even know. It doesn't even
I
look
mean,
like it's,
walls, all of that are greater than 5 feet.
yeah.
Yeah, let's, to use Dave's point, line here, we gotta get back on the rails here and figure out what
Yeah.
we can do.
Well-
They're in for a minor mod. So let's,
Eric,
I-
let me ask Eric a question. Eric, are you okay with, I assume we're okay with dropping the lap siding down below the balconies and taking a little bit of that, well, we've got that ephes on concrete block wall. And instead of ephes, making it lap siding so that the height of the stucco is less and the lap siding comes down into that water hill. Maybe it comes down not quite as far as the top of the foundation, but maybe down to maybe where the top of the louver is or somewhere around there. Is that
Yeah.
something that's okay with you? I think it's fine.
I think it's fine. And then do the ephes.
And then we do the ephes and we'll score it so that it's in a large granite block type pattern.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah, so I think that's okay. I mean, I think if Jim can go along with that, we're certainly amenable to that.
It's not me that's going along with it. It's the board.
Well, the board, I mean, but Jim, the board looks to you for guidance. I know that.
For about another half second.
And
You wanna
only
s-
guidance.
Sorry, I couldn't let that go by.
You want to step up there?
No, I
okay,
think the points are well made. So, Mr. Chairman, how do we move forward? Do we continue this and let them draw it up so we see what it's gonna look like?
no, I think,
Or do we do it verbally?
I think we do it verbally, and I think we get, Jim to,
When the plans come in, we make sure it's represented on the
right,
plans.
we authorize Jim to, sign off on.
I don't care either way, but just to point out, if we're worried about holding them up, didn't they ask for a year extension
I don't
last
want,
time?
I know, but I don't want to add any more time.
Just pointing it out, it doesn't seem like we're adding anything.
Well,
I don't care either way, but
We agonized over this thing so long when it was up before us.
yep.
I know I may have a half a second left, but you know, let's just get it out of the way.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's move forward here.
So,
let's-
Mr.
so how do you wanna do it, Tom?
Yeah, can they summarize like these sheets and which ones we're potentially voting to approve as a minor mod as is, and which one would then need a subsequent update?
All their elevations need updating. Or at least the right and left side do. Everywhere where there were garage grills need updating.
So this sheet A6, Dave, looks like a key one.
What about A7?
I don't have the full set in front of me.
Well,
I'm showing it.
if I look at A7, the front elevation, which is not
That
affected.
doesn't change.
And
Yeah,
I've got the rear elevation that if we carry that same
Round the corner.
siding line around, I mean,
we'll
Yeah.
want to do that. So A6 and A7 appear to be the key ones, Dave.
Okay, and there was an A4 and there was an A6 alternate.
yeah, and well, A4 was the drawing that was originally approved by the board.
Okay,
And the A6 alternate was the alternate full grills, which we're not interested in doing. We will withdraw that.
okay.
So I guess the ones that are affected are the A6 and A7, which say on them proposed exterior, with a change date of October 3rd, 2023.
And what's the proper wording for, like, they're gonna be amended to show what?
Will be amended to show, let's say we'll amend it, we'll amend them to show. Where are they?
Wanna make sure we're all in agreement.
Amended to show, added lap siding below the balconies. And the ephes to be scored to mimic granite block. Is that reasonable?
Let's make sure the date is revised too.
Yeah.
And what other sheet we got? We got an E9 that had been updated with some,
Yes.
is that grade still apply or is that off the table? It's no date on that plan there, but
No, that doesn't apply anymore.
okay. And then this one, E9.
The E9 sheet, the date on this is 8/31/23.
To get clarity on this, let's make sure everything's clouded.
Okay. Okay. And just for clarity, the date on the elevations that we'll revise are 10/20/10/23. Let me put the same revision date on this E9. So
Yes.
that the three drawings that we're revising all have the same date and they're all clouded.
Okay.
Okay.
Which date, what date are you using?
I'm using the date that's on the proposed exterior. October 3rd, I'm sorry.
No. You want to cloud, you're gonna mark up these drawings with the expansion of the material coming down.
Yeah.
And the ephes material basically on the side, and you're gonna put a current date, basically.
Like today's date.
Today,
so that we
right.
know
Okay,
when we
all
are
right, we'll put
for
today's date. Okay. Okay.
When we approve if we approve the minor modification.
Yeah. All right, so we will cloud A6, A7, and E9 with the modifications that we talked about. We'll cloud them and redate them today. And do we then submit those to you folks for record and make the changes on our construction documents?
Yes.
I think you
I
submit
would
the
say
building
yes.
department and have have Jim review them.
Okay.
If they're in the, if your permit set is revised, basically, when I look at it again, I'll go through and I'll either sign off or not sign off, depending on whether you've done the right thing.
Okay. Fair enough.
And that will be the record. It will be at the building department as the permit set.
Yeah.
That sounds like the least complicated way to do it.
Let's hope so.
Well, and the chair will be authoring a letter
Right.
about the minor mod, and it needs to reference that updated plan with that date and changes, so. Okay, so we're in agreement? We're good? So we know
I
what
am.
we're voting on? Okay.
Yes. Everyone feeling good? Let's
I'm
move.
with you, Mr. Chair. We just need to keep this thing moving.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Dave, this is a tough one, but I think you got it.
Yeah, 1 second. I just gotta get my thing in front of me. 1 second. Starting to creep into that part of the evening.
Oh, it crept in a long time ago for me.
Okay. So I find that the proposed changes to the comprehensive permit 998 to 1000 Greenwood I'm sorry, 998 Greenwood is the official name, right? Shown in the architectural drawings presented this evening, A6, A7, and E9, which will be amended to show the final added lap siding below the balconies and EFIS to be scored to match the grab block, to be minor modifications to the previously approved comprehensive permit.
Seconded.
Okay, motion's made second. Dan, can you stop sharing, please?
Yep. Quick question on that though. Under 40B, isn't it a completely different? It's not a minor modification. I'm looking up the language right now. It's a different name,
Different
different.
terminology.
Yeah, it's like
It is. You
So-
are absolutely right.
it's just such a burden. I'm looking up the term. I want to say it's like insubstantial. Hold on.
Well, you did it. You did all this wording for the last one we did.
Hold on.
Oh, boy.
Second.
Oh.
Yeah, you just have to approve the requested changes as insubstantial pursuant to, I can give you the note. I can just say it actually. 760 CMR 56.05 11.
Okay, so Mr. Chair, I'll amend my motion that we make that appropriate finding as Greg stated, with the same comments about the drawings and their amendments that need to be made.
I'll second that amended motion.
Okay, regular voting members, any more discussion before we take the vote?
Please no.
Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Chip,
Yes.
Jim,
Yes.
and I vote yes, it's approved. So, good. Keep moving forward, gentlemen. Good luck.
Thank you, gentlemen.
All right, moving on. We had a late add to other matters, for a previous approved in-law apartment on 27 Outlook Road. Brian, you're
Yeah,
up.
thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this can be pretty quick. I talked to Jim about this, McBain and the building inspector, and they both wanted it to just come before you quickly, I think, is a minor modification. This is 27 Outlook Road. It's an accessory apartment that's been approved. They're in the middle of construction, and they just decided they wanted to change the floor plan on the accessory apartment. So they're not enlarging it. The percentages aren't changing at all. All they're doing is they're kind of flipping. So I had the architect do a plan. The original plan is on the left, and you can see they're flipping the bedroom. And the revised plan is on the right. You can kind of follow along on your own. They're just moving components apart, and it has an effect on some of the windows that you can see. So on the revised plan, they're relocating a couple of windows and they're enlarging a side window to match the front window. That's it.
Okay, any comments or questions, board members?
No, I think this could be passed through pretty quickly. It's just it's really all about the windows in a few rooms because they changed the floor plan. So like we've done in the past when this has happened, we grant a minor modification.
Yeah, I got no
would do a
problem.
letter just for the file.
Yeah, anybody else?
I'm good.
No.
Okay. Yeah, we don't have to take public comment or anything on this, so if we're
Nope.
ready to move, there's no reason to delay.
The request is for a minor mod per this plan that we're seeing on the screen. Brian,
I'm sorry.
the request is for a minor modification to
Yes,
the
sir.
special permit.
Yep. Minor modification to the
All right, I'll-
decisions.
Mr. Chair, I'll move that we grant a find that the proposed changes to the special permit and the design at 27 Outlook Road by Pegasus Design to Build, dated 11/14/2023, are deemed minor modifications to the board's previously approved special permit.
Second.
Brian, can you stop sharing?
Yes, sir.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, Dave,
Yes.
Joe,
Yeah.
Jim,
Yes,
Chip,
Yes.
I vote yes.
Thank you.
Approved unanimously. Okay. That's everything on the agenda. We're moving on to clerk and board comments. Joe, Jim, anyone have anything to say?
sayonara.
The Wakefield High soccer team won tonight, and they're moving on to the state championship this weekend.
Oh, good
Oh,
for them.
wow. Good for them. Boys or girls?
Boys.
Boys. No, girls volleyball. Is it volleyball? They're
Somebody's
Yeah.
doing
Final Four, I
very
think
well.
so.
Yeah, they lost last night in the Final Four
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
to a team that hadn't won. One of my relatives on the team, they kept it competitive with a team that hadn't lost a set throughout the rest of the tournament.
Wow.
I think it was Weston, if I remember right.
Wow.
Brian, since you're on, do we know what's going on with iFly? That's
Yeah, they're coming back in December, Joe.
okay.
Yeah, they had to they're redoing their building.
They're retooling the whole thing.
Yeah.
All right. The only thing else I have is bylaw review committee met. I think Mark's gonna have a rough draft in December, so a real rough draft, I guess, but and then we
So
got
where do they stand with the accessory apartment at this point?
we haven't even got to that yet.
Oh, okay. I thought that was being talked about changing that.
We haven't brought that up yet. We haven't got to that chapter yet. But we're just taking like 2 or 3 chapters at a time, and then we have some bylaw, some subcommittees going, but trying to get those coordinated with everyone's time has been tough, but they don't plan on getting this thing until 2025, I believe. Past that town meeting in what's that, April? So still got another year and a half for that. So that's all I have. Other than I'll be at the town meeting this weekend. You guys have something to do, have nothing to do on Saturday morning. Come join me.
Anybody notice that Miss Hackett joined us for a while?
I did.
I did. She was wondering about the 40B.
Yeah, she missed the first part of the meeting.
She missed the first part, yeah.
So there's that. Okay.
So I will probably be leaving this group end of January. I'll be moving out of town at the end of January, 1st of February. So Greg, you're up. Hopefully.
Well, we'll see you before then, Jim.
Oh yeah, I'll be here for a little bit longer.
You're not disappearing without a proper send off.
I won't share with everybody what I told Jim.
I heard about that one, Chip. I was hoping you wouldn't say it on the
on the recording.
I might have to drop in once in a while.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'd love to. I was trying to do the math, and I think if you take the average, it's about 1,000 hearings that Jim has been at, and about 5,000 applications over the 20 years. And if you do those hours, I didn't even do the hours. It's mind-boggling when you really think about it. And whatever happened to Nadoko's can't be on the board more than 15 years. We really should have gone through with that.
I didn't want to stay like Dick with my laser, so hey.
It's a lot when you think about it. It's been an amazing run.
21
It's been
years.
an amazing run.
Really?
All right.
Well, we'll see you, Jim. We'll certainly be talking before then.
Well, I will be in town up through probably May or so as the church goes up, because I attend meetings there on 9 o'clock on Tuesdays. Part of my last rolls in town.
Gotta get the church built. That's good.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep,
It's fun to see something in that space now.
yep.
And you'll be back for the grand opening, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, I will.
And he'll be around for our grand farewell to him, which will be more of a roast than anything else.
Yeah,
I do plan on going to town meeting though.
good man.
Good. All right, we
When
got
is town meeting?
Saturday.
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 Galvin, 9 a.m.
9, okay. I couldn't remember what we were doing this time around.
I'll save you a seat up in the corner there.
I'll be at the hockey rink.
Yeah, like you have, spending most of your time these days.
Yeah.
Mhm. Hey, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna move that we
Approve the minutes.
Adjourn?
do we
Oh, we gotta do the
approve-
minutes.
Approve the minutes of October 25th, 2023.
Seconded.
I think we can do this by voice vote. Any, all in favor?
Aye.
And then, of course, the motion to adjourn, we can do by voice vote, and that is always in order. as
So
they say.
moved, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor?
Second.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Have a good